Hello and good afternoon and welcome to Estonia. Welcome to the European Orienteering Championships 2022 and the World Cup Round 2 here in Estonia this afternoon. Here we see some pictures and footage from the arena right now. I'm Erling Thisted, joined by Jonas Merz, and we will take you through this long distance final at the European Championships. We've already been underway with this competition for 4 hours. Jonas, we've started around just before 10, the first runners, so we've already had 4 hours of competition, still lots of runners to go. And we have some leaders already right now. Maybe we should take a look at them.
Yeah, I mean, we have, we will focus first on the women's competition, and there we have a leader from Finland, Enni Jalava, with a time of 1:39.09. Second position at the moment, Sanna Fast from Sweden, and on third position, also from Finland, Mia Niitinen, and they're all within 2 minutes. So it's quite a tight race so far.
Yeah, around 100 women the start lists, and that class will finish in about an hour or so. And then the men's competition, 136 on the starting list there. That will finish an hour later, but we have several men out in the forest as well today. Here we take a look at the women's course, 20 controls, just below 13 kilometers. Not so much climb. It's a rather flat terrain here in Estonia, and the estimated winning time of 73 minutes today. Let's take a look at the course here, Jonas.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, it's really flat here. I mean, you have some negative terrain. It doesn't make it too easy, because when it's so flat, it's also, I mean, this means that you don't have as many features to navigate with, which makes it often a bit more difficult for those world-class orienteers. You can see a very short first control. It's just to get yourself on the map, get used to the mapping style, and then you have these 3 controls in a rather detailed area. And from 4, where we have the TV control, the first TV control, we have a very, very long leg to the 5th control. And I can tell you there is a route choice problem. And it's not only the route choice that was leading to discussion so far. There's also, yeah, let's put it that way, there will be some discussions about rules and interpretation of the rules, but we can come back to that later. We have this 5th control quite far away, 6th control, where we have a radio control. And then we go back, we turn there back again towards the arena. So here we're around halfway through the course. Get in a bit more green area here at around control 10, and then it opens up again 11, 12, same style as at control 2 to 4. And the very last part here, short loop again. This one is quite open, the forest. We'll have a TV control there at control 14, and then you can see that it's... If you just see those pictures there, you wouldn't understand why they were complaining about the terrain yesterday, but I can guarantee you it's more green in other places. 17, I think, quite a tricky finish here, 17, 18 at least. It's greener there than before. And then we go back, of course, the last 2 controls, no problem at all, just to take the runners back to the arena.
And maybe we should say that this is actually day 2 of the championships. Yesterday we had the qualification for the middle distance finals, which will take place on Saturday. But today it's the long distance, as we can see here, 13 kilometers for the women.
And you can see here it's this kind of problems you have when it comes to the route choices. I mean, straight is, if you just look at the map, you could think that straight is always an option, but it is not. Here we have different route choice options to control 4, and you can see that now they added this one to the red one in the middle, and there were a lot of discussions, because you cross the river there, and it's some kind of interpretation of the rules if you're allowed to cross a non-crossable river. But the route choices here, the one to the north, I don't think they will choose it, because you have to run a lot through greener areas and marshes, and it slows you down a lot. So I think that's a key thing today to think about. Don't spend your time in green areas and in the marshes. Even though the marshes are dry, it's still not very good runnable. And some of the teams I know, they even declared it as a no-go to spend a lot of time in green areas where you're not running on paths. So I think this will be the key today, to find the right mixture between running on the nicer parts in more open white areas and avoid the green areas.
And here's a look at the women's start list. As we can see, we've been on with this competition since before 10 o'clock. And as we scroll down the names, we can also see some of them are have not started today. So maybe some of them are ill. Maybe they just want to spare their legs until the competitions in the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we know is that there are some teams, especially Switzerland, they have a lot of problems with illness, with some stomach problems. So many of the Swiss runners kind of, didn't start today. We see that Eveli Kasiku didn't start. She did a great race yesterday in the qualification, but she has some smaller injury problems, doesn't want to risk the good position, late start in the middle distance. That's why she isn't running today. And then you can see already that all of them are out in the forest. And here, of course, on this last page, we see the biggest favorites. For me, Tove Alexandersson and Simona Abersold. It will be a battle again. And, I mean, there are others as well. But when we look back to the last competitions, it's easy to say, it's fair to say that they will be the biggest names today.
But we saw Tove Alexandersson at the middle distance qualification. She can lose time out there, and now we're looking at the terrain. It's hard to look ahead in this terrain.
And I think, I mean, this, of course, it's bushy, but the real tricky thing is when it gets so tight around you that you can't see the details, the contours anymore. Then you're kind of blind running into the forest, and you have to trust your direction. But the thing is, once you lose direction a little bit, you're off a little bit to the left or the right. You maybe just miss the control by a few meters. Because it's so flat and the visibility is so low, it's so hard to say, do I have to go more to the left or to the right from where I am at the moment? And this is the reason why we have seen so many big mistakes yesterday.
And definitely we will also see how much an impact the late starting time will have, maybe, as there will be tracks out there. Hopefully the right tracks. I mean, there could be wrong tracks as well if you want to be, if you could be led to some wrong point.
And as you can see here, I mean, in this part, we have quite many parts. It's much more open than yesterday. And we have many parts where it looks like this, on the map at least. And if it's like this, I mean, there will not be any tracking, not be any tracks out there. It's a fair competition. But when you go around Control 5, just at this long leg, of course, it will help to start in the very end. Often it's kind of deserved for the runners that they are high up in the starting list and they kind of had to run good in the past to end up there. So it's kind of fair, but of course, if you just look at it isolated today, it's a very big advantage to start in the very end.
Here's Eni Jalava from Finland, the current leader here at the finish. And as we can see, we have an expected winning time of 73 minutes, and Eni Jalava's time is 99 minutes at the finish. So she's we'll see if they will go down there to 73 minutes. But
well, I mean, I think that's totally possible. She's quite I mean, she did a great performance today. She is 25-year-old, but she doesn't have so many international results so far. She had a 31st place from the World Cup final middle distance last year. And otherwise, she wasn't starting so many times in championships or at World Cup competitions. So I think there is definitely a chance for the later starters to go a bit faster. But you can also see that she has beaten many of quite big names here already. So she definitely did a good job out in the forest today.
Yeah, and the Finns seem to like this terrain. 3 Finns within the top 4.
I mean, if you just look at the map without taking the vegetation in count, it could actually be a map in Finland. It could be, I mean, you find this kind of terrain also in Finland, but then you add the vegetation and it's a totally different thing. I don't think it's also a kind of terrain you would really avoid training in. You don't want to be in a training in this. You don't make orienteering holidays in that kind of terrain. But let's take a look at the GPS here. We have Paula Groos from Switzerland and Andrine Benjaminsen. And you can see it will be a lot about this micro route choices. Do you get the good tracks here? You can see it doesn't really matter if you go to the left or to the right a little bit. Just you have to find the smaller tracks in the forest, maybe from other runners, maybe from animals or just lighter vegetation. And then we have this long leg here, and you can see that Paula Gross, she decided to use this small track there a bit more to the left, and Benjaminsen had a bit more a straight approach.
Yeah, and this is a look at the beginning of the track. She's further ahead than Benjaminsen now, but here we see her running towards the first control out there.
I think this is towards the fourth control, yeah. Just before this longer route, if I'm right, towards split 1. And at that position, she's 2 minutes behind. On 5th position, Venla Harju leading there in a time of 18:31.
Give me mommy too. I got her.
And Andrine had a great start at the championships. She won her heat at the middle distance qualification. So at least yesterday, she seemed to like this terrain.
And I mean, she's a runner that you could see she developed so well during the last years. She was always up there. She was always a little bit in the shadow. Of course, everyone has been in Tove Alexandersson's shadow, but she was just that gap. There was a gap between maybe Abersold and Alexandersson and Benjaminsen, but you can feel that the gap, at least in some competitions, gets a bit closer, and she's taking step by step towards the very top of the women's field here. And here we have the different options, and you can see in this part here you have some red lines just at the river there, but you don't have them in this second part. And if you take this route there to the left and kind of take a swim, of course you win a lot of time there. And the rules are very clear. It's uncrossable, but this is kind of a hint to the runner that if it's very wet out in the forest, you don't want to go over the river. But it's uncrossable doesn't mean that it's forbidden, and they have discussed about that in the team leaders meeting, and they were referred to the rule book, and it's very clear that you are allowed to go through there. And you can see there that it's not too easy to go over. You could see Kibbutz testing and backing out again, losing a lot of time there.
And here's another starter, Sara Hagström of Sweden, just came off from a win at O-Ringen just a week or less than a week ago this weekend.
And interesting, because she wasn't starting yesterday due to some illness, but she decided that long distance is more important to her. And I mean, my feeling is that if you feel a bit ill, you rather try to run the middle distance, because of course it's just a third of the time you have to be out in the forest. But she decided that the long distance is her distance, and well, we will see if it's going to pay off later on. I just tried to get the paid off in the beginning at least. She's only 28 seconds behind on second position at this very beginning. So here we have, you can see that she has just a better speed through the terrain here.
And she's on her way to control 4 as well, as we saw Andrine Benjaminsen earlier.
Exactly. And but she's faster. She's 1.5 minutes faster compared to Andrine Benjaminsen.
It seems like she's going with great speed out there, reading the map carefully.
And I mean, she was so good at O-Ringen, so the shape definitely is here also for forest orienteering. And I think that she decided to run O-Ringen because it's a good way to kind of switch from the sprint focus back to the forest focus. Because I mean, you only had 1 month from the World Championships, and no one really was focusing on forest orienteering before that. So kind of you can really feel that a few of the runners, they really wanted to take every chance to get the body competing again in the forest. And this is interesting here because you can see that she's running more to the north, and these areas here where it is these yellow parts and the green parts, it's really slowing you down. It's bushy and it's green and it's not fun to run there. And you can see that it turned around here. I mean, Hagström was 1.5 minutes ahead of Benjaminsen, but Benjaminsen decided to go more on the street here, and I think that was a very good decision.
And here's Venla Harju at the start, the current leader at the first TV split out there, so we'll probably see the footage of her as well in a few seconds.
And here now we have a Hagström compared to Harju. And let's see where she makes the difference here. Is she's going around a bit more, and only there you could already see that she used the tracks and the streets a little bit longer, and it just gave her kind of an advantage. And I mean, it's one thing to get this advantage time-wise here in the beginning. It's the direct effect. She was faster there, but it will also pay off in the very end if you try to get the chances to save energy in a long distance. It's a long competition today. It's warm out there. It's a lot of sun. It's a lot of fighting through bushes, which makes you tired. So it's definitely a good thing in the beginning to choose this energy-saving options when you get them. And of course, if it's not too far to go around, but this situation here, it even paid off time-wise.
Yeah, we'll see if Van der Hayo, just as her fellow Finns, likes this terrain, and so far it looks good for her.
3.
Here she is.
And you can also see, I mean, in this part here, it looks very Scandinavian, the terrain. So it's not a big surprise that the Finnish runner and the Swedish runners, they feel home here. It will shift in on the long leg, and then I think there will be a bigger advantage for like runners from, of course, Estonia, but maybe more from the continent, Czech Republic, Switzerland, maybe. It's not really only about the technique, it's also about the mindset that as a runner from the continent, you are used to the situation where you just have to like and kind of face the fight, and you have to be in the mindset that today I'm gonna fight. I'm not gonna enjoy orienteering, but I'm gonna fight, and it will be tough to be fast. I won't feel fast, but I want to do that today. And if you have that mindset, it will make it very much easier to be fast today.
And maybe we should, here is Sabine Hausfeld, but if we take a look at the splits, at the first control, we can see Tove Alexandersen has passed there. She is 1 minute and 43 seconds behind Van der Hayo. Line Strand has been there as well, 1 minute and 49 seconds behind Van der Hayo. And Simone Abersol just passed out there, nearly 2 minutes behind Van der Hayo. So definitely a great start for Hayo out there.
And you can see now we have all three of them in the comparison. Hauswirt losing a bit time here every now and then getting stuck there in these green areas, not going as straight. And you can see that she's struggling in every kind of yellow part there. It feels that the other ones, they just were able to find the smaller tracks where maybe other runners were, or maybe where there are some animal tracks, or where you can just feel that the terrain is a bit more open, so you can push a bit faster. And it's a very in situation like this, when you have quite good visibility, you have to use that in greener, pushier parts to look ahead, to see if there are parts coming where it's a little bit easier to run, just to get a good flow through these bushy areas.
And 3 minutes already behind.
It's a lot. I mean, you can see that I think everyone will lose time at one point of the course, because it's so different in its characteristics when it comes to the vegetation and the kind of the route choices and the technical things you have to do. But 3 minutes is a lot, and yeah, maybe, I mean, there is a risk already that she gets caught from runners behind, and then of course you know that you didn't have a good start, and once that happens, it's very hard to get back into the fight.
Here's Line Strand. Probably also one of the favorites for a top spot today.
Yeah, I mean, she performed well at the World Championships. You could feel that after a year with a bit more of struggling, she was really able to peak her form again, her shape again. But she also had some problems with illness, and just at the World Games, she skipped one of the competitions there. I mean, it's really this wave of Corona going around again, so we have many runners here that had struggles with illness. But you can see here some hesitation towards, she was a bit early looking for the control. And I mean, in this area here, you shouldn't be missing. It's so open and the visibility is good. So if you're kind of proactive runner and you have a plan in your head, this won't happen. But of course, it's also turning a lot. You have these contours, you have these details. You have to avoid or you really want to avoid some of the climbing, so you follow the contours, which makes it a little bit harder to keep direction. So if you kind of run around one of the hills, and then you have to be very sure that you leave the hill into the right direction. And that's one of the tasks today in these open areas. But still, I mean, this is something most of the world-class orienteers are very good at, to use all the features if you have many features and select the right ones and navigate with what you have. And it's easier to navigate with many details compared to when you're totally flat and no details at all.
Here is Markataini of Finland, reigning European champion actually in middle distance. We haven't had European champions in forest distances for 4 years, so her middle distance championships in 2018 in Switzerland still stands.
Yeah, it was an exciting race there when when we thought that Tove Alexandersson was the clear winner, and then she missed one control at the very end, and then we also had Julia Gross, who missed one of she forgot to punch one of the controls, and we thought that she would have won the race. And it was a lot of drama in this race back then 4 years ago. So I think she also got injured in the end of the course there, and a lot of things happened. But she's, of course, she's the reigning champion in the middle distance. But it's a different task today. I mean, there we had a very steep race, and it's the total opposite today. She had a okay start here.
Yeah, let's see her onto control.
You can also see that the men's race is ongoing in some parts, of course. The courses are quite similar, especially where we have the cameras. She's punching here into a third position.
Yeah, nearly a minute, but I mean, there's a lot of time difference between top 5 or 6 here already. I mean, just 3 kilometers onto this course, which is nearly 13 kilometers. So it will be definitely exciting to see how much gaps we will see later, and definitely the last half of the women will have a long day in the forest today. I think we can say that.
Definitely, and here one of the very big favorites, Tove Alexandersson. She had some struggles yesterday already with where she missed in the beginning. She was almost 4 minutes behind after a few controls, but she managed to kind of switch back again and did some good orienteering in the end. And I think she was 1 minute faster in the second part compared to the other ones in the same heat. But it shows that even for her, this is a difficult task. And when you had similar terrain in earlier years, it is this kind of terrain where you can beat her. It's because she is very good when she can navigate with stuff. But when you take it away from her, as you can see here, already the first control, she's not far off the track in the beginning. She's just passing the control by a few meters. But because it's so bushy, you have to be very, very precise with the direction, because you can't see the control behind the bushes. So if you just miss it by a few meters, then things like this can happen. In this case here, I think it shouldn't happen like this, because she overran the control with almost 100% of the distance, and the warning should have come up earlier that she is too far now. But it's the beginning of the competition, and you haven't been out there for a long time. You didn't have the time to get on the map. Maybe she didn't have the self-confidence after yesterday's race. It's another scale as well. It's 15,000, not 10,000. And usually it's good if you have a short control like this, if you get it, because then you can kind of calibrate the distance and everything you need. And tough start for her here. She will go on this long leg with a big disadvantage time-wise.
But I mean, there have been 100 runners before her onto control 1, so she must have missed some tracks out there, or maybe it's not that visible here because it's not so dense here.
It's hard to say. I mean, if you look at this here, of course it's more bush in the other parts, but maybe they're like the tracks are all over the place, and then of course you don't get a lot of help by it. Or other runners have been doing mistakes before her there as well, and then the tracks are misleading.
But we can see Tove Alexandersen already 1:43 behind.
But you can also see that she's still on 4th position, so they're or on 5th position, so it's very outspread here. And again, we are back here. You can see both Harju and Benjaminsen. They took the swimming route there, and you can see how much faster it is to use those small tracks. You have first the street, then this path there, and then this small track in, and you can see the tail is 1 minute. So Hagström lost 4 minutes 40. You can see it up there. So it's a lot of time she lost on this route.
And here's Simona Aebersold, probably the last of the big favorites today.
One of the only runners that didn't get affected by this illness in the Swiss team. Had a very good race yesterday. The fastest kilometer speed seen over all 3 of the heats in the women's class, but still she was not very happy. She said that she felt slow in this terrain, and that she had to be very careful to not miss at any point. And I think that's exactly the difficult thing here. It's very hard to avoid that feeling, I mean, you won't feel very fast in the green areas, and you can see that she did a small mistake towards control 2 and is now somewhere around Tove Alexandersen time-wise, so almost as big of a mistake as Tove did to the first control. But of course, I mean, this opens up a little bit. We have the 2 very big favorites here still around each other. Only, say, the difference is only 15 seconds, 16 seconds.
And into 6th position at the first TV split.
But I mean, also, what we also saw is that even if you have a gap, quite a big advantage at one control, if you make a bad decision at any point, for example, towards the 5th control, but also later on, 9 to 10, where we saw Kibbutz just trying to get over the river, but having to back off again, you can lose a lot of time if you're kind of hesitating or not really executing the route well. So I think even if you have quite a big lead here at one point, there are still many places where you can lose a lot of time. And that's what I said before. I really like that when they run around there and really use the path in a very consequent manner, because I'm sure that's something they talked about. It's not something you instinctively do as an orienteer. You want to cut that corner, but you have to force yourself to go around because you know from the past that it is faster and it will pay off later on. So I really like to see that when runners do that and stick to their plan, when you really can see that they have been talking about this and they executing it in this manner.
And the last starter here, Caroline Olsen, in the women's class. She's been running for 30 minutes now, but here we see her on her way to split 1, control 4 on the women's course. Had a disappointing qualification yesterday. Finished outside top 20, so she won't be in the middle distance final. Lost some time out there to 9th control, I think it was. So she's definitely, this is her chance to perform here in Estonia in individual distance anyway, here at the long distance.
And you get a kind of a flashback to the World Championships where she missed the knockout sprint. It was the only distance where she was planned to run, and it is very tough mentally if you miss a qualification. You both have you have this bad feeling about not being able to run the final, but you also have that feeling that your orienteering is not really on top for this task here, and she was struggling a lot yesterday. She lost, I think, about 9 minutes on the middle distance, so it's very important for her to get a good start here. And I mean, she's only 1 minute 9 seconds behind. I'm sure we'll see that
right here. Yeah.
On the 4th position, so I think it's a good start, and you could also see that there were no problems for Olsson, so for sure she doesn't know about this 1 minute. I think just Harju, she was running so very good in the beginning that no one of these other, at least 4 runners or other 3 runners in the top 4, they have a feeling that they did a bad start. So I think they are quite satisfied with the run so far to control 4.
And I think we just saw the GPS animation, maybe we'll see it again later, that Abersholt went south of this forbidden area, whereas Tove Alexandersen and the others went through the river. So we'll see how much difference that makes in some minutes. Definitely could be a decisive moment for this long distance if you lose 1 or 2 minutes out there.
Yeah, and I mean it's an interesting thing, because I'm not sure if the course planner had in mind that you could run, that you can just run, because I think that he planned this forbidden area to make the route choice more attractive, and I don't think that he thought about the possibility to run around there. So it's a kind of a strange thing, and here you can see quite a big mistake. It gets bigger and bigger. So the tail is 1 minute here. You can see, I would guess about 3 minutes that Benjaminsen lost. That's what I mentioned before. You could see that the area there, it's a bit green. It's not the best runnability, not the best visibility. And once you're off the best route, it's very hard to find back again.
And here we are back at the finish. And seeing Marie Olausen.
And she has a chance here.
Just the time, just about. Annie Jalava, the current leader from Finland. Let's see if she makes it.
She was a few seconds behind her at the second TV control, so a few kilometers before the finish.
Oh, she won't make it into second position. Now behind Annie Jalava, still leading this competition. Yeah, but we can see it's a long distance today.
Yeah, it's a long run.
And it's warm, we should say.
It's very warm, and but I think many of the runners are quite used to the fact that it can be warm now when they're running and training. And you can see she doesn't seem to be very satisfied. Talking to Janne Salmi, coach from the Norwegian team.
And here the Finnish standings as of now. And we can see a gap between Marie Olausen and Ida Happala in third position.
You can also see that it's many of the Scandinavian runners in the top here so far. Finnish runners performing very well in this terrain.
And just to compare Annie Jalava's time at the first TV split, we've had all runners passing there now. She is 3 minutes and 42 seconds behind Venla Harju, who has the best time out there.
So then the 73 minutes maybe are possible today. And maybe to come back to what we were talking about before, I mean, it wasn't interesting, because I think if you just look at the map and you wouldn't know about the rules passing a river that has this small black border, you would just think that it's not allowed to do, because otherwise the forbidden area should go over the river to make the route choice better. And it was interesting, I talked to a few of the coaches, and for example, the Norwegians, they didn't really mention that on beforehand. The Swedish coaches were very clear with it is allowed to swim, so they actively said that to the runners. Also the Swiss, they specifically asked that questions in the team leader meeting and got the answer that they should look it up in Yeah, the rules.
book,
So
yeah.
it's. I mean, it's not unexpected that a task like this will come up here.
But we saw Simon Abersholt going not through the water, but going south of the forbidden area.
But of course, I mean, she doesn't know how deep it is in the water, so it is kind of a risk you take if you go down there, because of course, if the mapper maps it as uncrossable, then you expect it to be uncrossable.
Yeah, and here's some funny GPS tracking. We saw Teresa Janosikova seeming to go the wrong way, following a fence and not going into the last control. But here she is, maybe from the wrong direction, but she got it right at the end.
She's quite a big margin now, so this will definitely be our new leader here.
Yeah, new leader, Teresa Janosikova.
Can take a look.
Well, at the World Games, actually, some weeks ago in USA, had a silver medal on the sprint distance there. But now she shows that she has abilities in the forest as well.
But we also see that at the first TV control, she was 4 minutes behind. So definitely not with the best run here today either.
But a smile, nevertheless. 2.5 minutes.
I mean, she's leading, yeah, of course.
Teresa Janosikova.
Here we are with Cecilie Friberg-Klusner.
Or Nicoline. Oh, it's Cecilia, yeah. It can be hard to tell the difference. On her way to split 2, which is after 10 kilometers approximately of the course. And we can see her have lost some time.
And here you can see the difference compared to the first part. It's much more bushy in some parts. I mean, not exactly here, but in some parts the visibility is lower. So you have to be more careful here. It's harder to run. You have to lift your feet all the time.
Cecilie wasn't at the World Champs in Denmark, wasn't selected due to the performances in the spring and the test races, but she had some great test races in the Danish test races here some weeks ago and won both races. So she seems to be in great shape and returning, great shape here into the forest, former sprint relay world champion from 2016 in Denmark.
Here we're waiting for Johanna Öberg, taking over the lead from Teresa Janosikova in a quite convincing way. And now we are actually almost down on this 73 minutes.
Yeah, definitely a new clear best time. 4 minutes ahead of Teresa Janosikova.
And if you look at the split times, also she lost a lot of time in the beginning. I mean, this could have different reasons. Maybe it got a bit faster towards the end. I mean, the runners we see here still quite early starters, but also, of course, there could have been a mistake in the beginning because 3 minutes is quite a lot. Andreas Svensson as well, first time at the International Championships for the Swedish team.
It's a 9th.
Sprinting to the finish, and the Swedish record in the 100 meters, which belongs to Linda Hamblund, 11:16, was not under threat, but close to 12 seconds.
But Ivars, look at the radio station at 6.1. When was it that Marika Heini went through? That was a long time ago, and we still don't have...
Just mentioned that it was nice to see her in the forest. Of course, it's easy to say for Johanna Öberg, who starts behind. What?
Oh,
this doesn't look good. Well, this will definitely lead to a protest here.
Yeah, Caroline Olsson passing through
and
the forbidden area, as it seems on the GPS anyways. We should take that.
But you could see the speed as well. I mean, it really looked as if she was running there. Otherwise, she would have been very fast through the water. And, well, if that's true, then it's another tough day for Caroline Olsson. We again see the mistake by Benjaminsen. Then they choose different route choices. And Benjaminsen actually going over the river there.
Was that where Serena Kiburz
I think she was
turned around, or that was a bit further up the river?
Yeah, exactly. And a big mistake there by Venlahariu as well.
So Benjamin's actually caught up
Yeah.
now after this great mistake at the fourth ninth control.
But it's exactly the controls like this. You see, if you come a bit from the southeast, you have a kind of a green wall. It's not as good visible on the TV screen here, but it's a dark green. And if you have dark green in this terrain, it's totally like visibility is zero. So you have to kind of blind go through this through this wall. And of course, then it's very hard to keep direction there. So if you're off direction and you come out of the wall and you don't have an idea about where you are, then mistakes like this can happen. I think she lost. I mean, yeah, she lost maybe 2 minutes there, and that for sure opens up again for Alexandersson, Benjaminsen, Abersold, and all the other runners behind.
Here we see smiles. They haven't been running. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, that's why they're smiling. I mean, we have seen runners coming out of the forest smiling as well.
Yeah.
Not many, but we have seen them.
And we're looking at the radio times out there. We have a radio after 6 kilometers. Still have 3 runners left to pass there. Simone Abersold, Tove Alexandersson, Caroline Olsson. But right now the best time out there is Andrine Benjaminsen, ahead of Venlahariu.
And that's the control after this long leg. So yeah, so we saw before where we have seen Hagström going to the north. A lot can happen there. We're with Alexandersson. Usually that's not a good sign. Oh, that's she. What?
That was too far, I would say.
That's very strange. I try to think about what she could have thought when she comes out there, but I have no idea. I mean, it's first I thought that she is giving up the race, but she's definitely not. Maybe she thought that she was running a bit much to the north, getting out on this very small track, and then misreading the next part, but it's very hard to believe. I would call it a blackout.
And actually hard to see if she actually got the control there. She was just, I mean, she didn't seem as she had the direction away from it anyway. So here's Sandra Grossberger of Latvia into the finish. But she has lost time as well. We can see nearly 8 minutes behind the current leader, Johanna Öberg.
And it's definitely, but we can say it's a very interesting course and race to follow, because I mean, there's so many things that can happen when you get this combination of technical orienteering and the green areas and the route choices. So there are so many factors that can lead to a mistake here. And not only small mistakes as we have it when the visibility is good, but here we are talking about minutes of mistakes, and of course that leads to these changes in the leading position.
And I think we've seen almost everyone making mistakes as of now. Tove Alexandersson, we've seen Andrine Benjaminsen making mistakes, Venlahariu making a mistake. So yeah, it will be definitely, it's in the head as well. Who can keep cool when we approach the final controls?
And I mean, it's one thing that we see that Sara Hagström still is in a quite good position even after this big mistake or big time loss. It wasn't even a very big mistake, but big time loss. But they don't know about the mistakes from everyone else. So it's for them, it's much harder to keep in focus and keep on pushing hard when they think that they already lost 5 minutes. You can also hear that kind of the gimbal got stuck there from the cameraman. Yeah. It's pushy also for the people working out there. Maybe not the best direction into the control. Quite okay. But a big gap here already. Some more GPS. Paula Groos compared to the current leader, Johanna Öberg. And you see that here she actually lost time going around the yellow area. But you can also see there on the yellow area, you have this small path going in. And usually they don't just stop. So if you have a path going into yellow area, there's often been tractors and things so you can anticipate that maybe the track is a bit longer, and then of course it turns around. It makes it much faster to keep on running there, especially when other runners were running there as well. And the time loss here, yeah, it was, you could see it only on this small part in the very end, about 1 or 2 minutes. By Paula Groos, but still quite a good performance. She was in the lead at the second TV control, 58 seconds ahead of Johanna Öberg, and now she's 1:29 behind. And if we take it to the first TV control, there she was 2 minutes and 9 seconds behind Harju. So, well, it's quite a good race by the Swiss runner. And this is Sarina Kiburz giving up the race. Can be. I know that she has been ill as well. We have seen the mistake in the middle of the race. If you combine those things, it's a very tough race, a long distance to run when you come back from an illness, from stomach problems. Often you didn't have the chance to get enough liquids into the body to just run and push for 90 minutes. And if you add up some mistakes there as well, then you can understand that it's hard to fulfill the course. You can also see that there is a small mistake at control 13 out from the control, and that was maybe this one loop too much for her. It kind of reached the tipping point. And back with those 3 leaders, Harju, Hagström, Benjaminsen. Benjaminsen going a bit much to the north there.
Maybe she saw the river.
Yeah,
and still a mistake.
This is Sara Hagström towards the second split.
Run.
We have seen Hagström had a good split at the first TV control, was only 28 seconds behind, but then she chose this northern route on the long leg and lost a lot of time there. But we haven't really seen technical mistakes by her. So, I mean, she lost on the route choice. That's a thing that she won't notice out in the forest. So for her, in her head, she still has a very good race, probably. And I mean, also time-wise here, she's still on track. And I think she will take over the lead here.
And she caught up with Benjaminsen. We can see her ahead. Benjaminsen started out 3 minutes ahead of Sara Hagström. So they have each other to run together with here for the last 5-6 controls after this TV split.
And of course, that's a very good feedback for Hagström, but she doesn't know about all the mistake Benjaminsen was doing. Maybe she would be a bit more concerned if she knew about this. But of course, in this situation here, it's very good. And the only thing is that Benjaminsen is in the lead now there, but she is coming from a mistake she's been doing before. So maybe not the biggest self-confidence. Now she seemed a little bit off direction as well. So good execution here by Hagström. Haven't seen Benjaminsen. There she is. So it feels that, I mean, she won't be a very big help for Hagström here. Her self-confidence is somewhere out at control 12 and 9. So maybe good for the group here that it is Hagström taking over the orienteering part. And this is Vendla Harju. Also she towards this second split. Harju started 3 minutes behind Hagström. So there is a possibility to take over the lead here.
And from this control, there's around 3 kilometers to the finish. So some way to go after this. Here we are with Harju again.
And you can see how all the bushes here lower the visibility, so it's very hard. Even if you see on the map, you see all the contours, you see all the details on the map. But if you are here, you don't see much further in some parts than like 20 or 30 meters. So it's then very hard to see the contours you planned with on the leg out in the forest, which makes it much more difficult to execute the legs.
And some trouble with the camera as well. But we saw her just going across the path, which is just between 13 and 14, I think so. Seemed to be on the right course anyway. Then Harju. Was 6th on the long distance at the World Championships in Norway. Her best long distance result.
And if I remember right, I think she won a medal in the middle distance 2017 in Estonia when it was in quite similar terrain here. Also there with a very good race.
Could be another medal for her today. 52 seconds ahead of Sara Hagström.
But if there's anything we have seen before, so everything can happen.
Everything can happen, yeah.
And we're back with some tracking. You see here, that's also an indication that it's quite rough out there. Taini choosing to go to the path. Harju doing a mistake here to control 7. That's the radio control. It's also the control. Now we have turned the map a bit. We have seen Alexandersson with this big mistake. And if we guess the gap there, it's about 3 minutes between Taini, Harju and Alexandersson.
And there we see how you're going through the terrain, and that seems to be great there, so it's really hard to tell where you can go fast and where you lose time.
Still here in this part, I think it slows you down a little bit. But of course, with every runner going through the terrain there, it gets a bit faster. And I think here it's better to approach this control from a bit from the north, because it's a bit more open. You have the yellow area there and not the green one, so you can, the visibility is a bit better. So you can, I think it's easier to run to control 10 if you come a bit from the north. But of course, I mean, the mistake by Harju was far too big also regarding the fact that she approached it a bit more from the east.
Here we are again at control 14, and we can see the standings there. I'm looking at the GPS, can see Sara Hagström and Lena Benjaminsen still running together. And as we saw on the last part of the course, Johanna Öberg overtook Paula Groß's spot here, so she's still in the lead here at the finish. Still missing 5, I think, runners out there.
And now we are live with Simona Abersold. Also she, I mean, if you compare Alexandersson and Abersold, it's not a big time difference here, but we have seen Alexandersson with this big mistake at control 6. So also Abersold, she must have struggled at some point. And now you can see, I mean, now you can see it in real time, the mistake Harju was doing. And you can see that at this point, she's still on track. She's more or less on the highest point. Or she passes this small hill there. And when you cross a path like this, you really have the opportunity to back up and double check your position. And you could even take a few steps towards north just to be sure that you leave the control, the path at the point you think you leave it, at the point where Taini is. And I think that she is kind of thinking that she's north of Taini at this hill there, and now...
Or maybe at the marsh just north. I mean, there are two, you can't really see it here, but just below Harju's tail is a marsh, and there's a marsh, it could be read more or less similar. Yeah. So she seems to go south just after the marsh, which would be right if she was to the north, but here she loses time.
Yeah. And you can see, I mean, if you look at Tainy's tail, you can see that she takes a few steps on the path. She gets on the path, takes a few steps to the north, double checks. I mean, that's my interpretation of the situation. Double checks the situation and then attacks the control from there. I think if Harrier would have done the same, she could have kind of made sure that she is at the right spot. And I mean, the consequences here of this small mistake, or of the small, I mean, it's the beginning of the mistake is just a small thing, but it leads to a very big time loss here.
Yes, Denmark's Cecilie Friberg-Kløsner into the finish, into running for a spot in the current top 5, I think, yeah. Overtake Eni Javala's 4th place right now. And will for sure be the best Danish runner today. As I said, showed great form a couple of weeks ago at the Danish test races, winning both clearly, and here into 4th position. But we still have plenty of runners to go.
But Megan Carter-Davies, world champion, kind of the star of the World Championships a month ago. Great long distance last year at the World Championships as well.
She was 6th there.
Yeah. So she's not only a sprinter, but today it wasn't her day. Maybe not her favorite terrain either.
Yeah, and maybe I would say Great Britain has probably had a very intense sprint focus this year. They had the silver medal on the sprint relay as well, and Alice Leek had the bronze medal in the sprint, and they really had a perfect sprint walk in Denmark. So I would think that their focus has been on performing there, having their World Championships in Edinburgh in 2 years as well. So I think it's fair to say that the focus has been sprinting.
And I mean, it's a very hard task. We have never really had that before, that you had, I mean, now the World Championships were sprint, so it is a big focus, or it was a big focus on sprint, and then you only have 4 weeks to change everything. Your whole training, the last year of preparation was only sprint, and then you have to change and to adapt to a kind of terrain that's very special for most of the runners. And this is a very, very difficult task. Usually runners, they travel to the countries where the championships will be, not only once, but twice or 3, 4 times. I know, for example, Simona Abersold, she decided to just right after the World Championships travel to Estonia. She did some trainings, didn't understand anything of the terrain, and decided to go back again after the World Games because she felt that she didn't get it. She didn't understand how to be fast there. So she decided after that to go back, and I mean, only that proves that it is very hard to adapt to this kind of terrain. And if you had this big sprint focus, maybe you were quite satisfied as well as Megan Carter-Davies, and then you have to adapt to this not most enjoyable terrain. That's a very hard task. Now we see Alexanderson going in quite much to the north there, but she seems to have control over the situation. So Harjo Hagström and GC Abersold kind of doing the same thing as Harjo. Not really sure about the location when she was entering, and she was right there at the hill, maybe thinking she's more to the north.
We're live with the Abersold now.
Yeah.
Switch it just live.
But you can see it here. It's, I mean, it's one of the few controls really located in the green area, and directly many of the runners get problems. This is Lina Strand and is it Sabine Hauswirt,
yeah,
maybe?
It is.
Split 2, and this is a new best time. No, it's the control before the split time, so they have one control to go. There's that's a runner from the men's race. We had Strand 149 behind at the first TV control. I think she will be somewhere quite close to Sara Hagström at the second TV split here.
And Hausviet started out just before Lina Strand, 3 minutes. Yeah, but you can really see them like looking around to like catch some features they can rely on. But yeah,
you could also see, well. I mean, here other runners from the men's race, but you can also see that they don't trust each other. They go their own way. Of course, they had different courses, but they also see the cameras, and it's always an indication that it might be the same control. You can see it's Strand 1 second behind Hagström. So 3 runners within 1 minute at this second TV control.
Lina Strand is second at World Cup standings. We've had round 1 in Sweden in the end of May, only sprint competitions there. And now the World Cup turns to the forest with the European Championships here and ending up in Switzerland in the beginning of October with some forest competitions there as well.
Maybe there's not a lot of forest in this area there. It's quite high up the mountains. So you might be a bit above the forest border or tree border. This is Marika Teini, and I think now it's going to be interesting. This is the control before the split time. No, it is the split time. So 1 minute and 4 seconds lead here.
And the fourth last starter here, Marika Teini. So this looks like, well, a medal if she can keep it together on the last controls. I think this is Lisa Risby, but she is behind. She started out before Tabina Hausviet, as we can see here, 10 minutes nearly. And the next runner to this control in some minutes will be Tove Alexandersen. So we will have, in a few minutes, we will see if she has caught up after the mistakes we've seen her make.
Yeah, let's see if it's in 2 minutes or if we have to wait for a while. It's hard to predict because it was so... Some parts seem to be really good, but there are many mistakes. We're still waiting for Lisa Risby. So she, I think, struggled a bit with some illness.
Nowhere to be seen. Yes, Vendula Horchikova, we saw her early on as well, but she is more than 10 minutes behind current leader Johanna Öberg. Into 15th spot. So maybe up to 20 for her with a little luck. But we'll soon have Sara Hagström into the finish. She's on her way to the second to last control now.
And this is the recap from Abersold to this 10th control, where we already had Harjo doing a big mistake. Abersold running in to this green area, not really. Oh, and then she had to go out again, relocating. Getting Olsson there as well. Splitting up again. This is a huge mistake.
But Olsson as well.
Yeah.
They are really losing time out there.
I mean, we're quite unsure about Olsson anyway. In the beginning there on the long leg, it looked as if she went through the forbidden area. This is Tove now.
To control 13.
We're taking her towards the next control. I think it will be about 2 minutes running time. She's late already.
She's late, yeah. That will be well, unless Marika Taini makes mistakes on the last controls. This will probably be too much to catch up, even for Tove Alexandersson.
But I mean, third position is 1:57 behind Sara Hagström. This is still possible for sure, and as you mentioned, I mean, Taini is not in the finish yet, so we have seen mistakes almost at any point of the race. So it's not over. It's not over till it's over.
Tove Alexandersson also ran some of the O-ring stages, but then left, I think, to train for the championships over here during the week in Sweden. And here's Sara Hagström into the finish. This will be, I think, a new best time, but we know there are faster runners out there coming after her. But Sara Hagström into a new best time, a current leading time for Sara Hagström. But the question is if it will hold up for a medal for Sara Hagström today. Probably not, if the Finns can keep it together. Marika Taini and Venla, here she is. The time is 1:31.23. A clear lead to fellow Swede Johanna Uber, 1:20, but we know there are runners coming out there. Marika Taini.
I think, I mean, it's Taini and Harju, and I mean, otherwise, most of the runners at TV Split 2 are behind. I think there's still a chance for a medal.
Here we see Tove Alexandersson in some doubt on her way to control 14.
But if you just to get back to Sara Hagström, if you look back on her race, it's, as I remember what we have seen, it's more or less only the route choice she didn't pick right to control 5, where she lost a lot of time, but otherwise it was a very good race technically by her, so that's well-deserved leading position.
And here's Andrine Benjaminsen, as we recall, started out ahead of Sara Hagström, 3 minutes ahead of Sara Hagström, so this will be a time around, 4 minutes after Sara Hagström, still into 4th place, still a place maybe on the podium for Andrine Benjaminsen today.
We also know that the runner behind Sara Hagström, the starter behind, is Venla Harju, so I think we will very soon see the fight. Here she is,
yeah. Venla Harju into the finish, and this will be a new best time, and definitely, I think we can say now, a medal for Venla Harju today here in Estonia. The long distance, she's 1 minute and 30 seconds ahead of Sara Hagström, 31 seconds. Venla Harju into the current lead, and we only have a few runners to go. So a medal for Venla Harju, I think we can promise her that here, and she's smiling, exhausted, but smiling.
I mean, she also did mistakes, not small ones, and still she is in the lead. She seems to be in great shape. You could also feel that in earlier in the season that she is kind of, I mean, she's been in elite orienteering for many years now, and she has had many tops, but she has also had periods where she kind of disappeared a little bit, and you could really feel in the beginning of the year that she is getting back towards the top positions again. And imagine this race today, if she would not have missed at those controls, she seems to be in a very good shape, and she will be definitely dangerous for Saturday as well.
And great for Finland with some success here. I mean, definitely one medal here, and maybe we'll have another one in just a few minutes for Marika Taini.
Exactly, we're waiting for Marika Taini. She started 9 minutes behind, no, 12 minutes behind Venla Harju. So we have to wait, at least another 10 minutes. And I mean, look at this mistake here. This is a huge mistake, and still she's up in the lead. But you can also see that Taini has an advantage here for sure, about a minute.
just as you said, Jonas, it's all about fighting on, and even if you make mistakes, keep on fighting because it pays off.
Yeah,
and you can definitely get a top spot today, even if you lose some minutes out there.
And I think in that way it was very important for the runners to have a competition yesterday, because there they got the feedback that the feeling it won't be good even if you're running technically well. You will never feel fast in this terrain, and I think that helps when you know that. So there's a small mistake for Teini. So now it's very, very close between Teini and Harju. And we only have those 4 controls left.
Yeah, and this is Tove Alexandersen live. So 4 controls for her to go. Or 5. She needs to go to 16 first, of course.
Yeah, but we are live with Alexandersen, so maybe there are only 4 controls left for her anyway, but we don't know it. And I think this one is, it's not very, it's hard to see the green there on the screen, but it's kind of a bit more green just before control 17, and then towards control 18 you have this area where you have to get through the green area, and behind in a bit more open area you will find control 18. Maybe not, it makes it easier control 18 because you have this kind of border there in vegetation, and here we see that Harju passed Teini towards control 17. So now it's advantage Harju. And the gap maybe 25 seconds between Harju and Teini. No problems at this control for Venla Harju. Doesn't seem to be any problems for Teini either.
It's hard to tell if she's on the right track, Marika Teini.
Maybe hesitating a little bit there.
There's a small green area just where Teini is now on the map. Can be hard to tell from the GPS. Oh, she seems to get it right.
Still hesitating. Not really moving fast out from the control, at least. I don't know if she has the control or if she's standing
just beside it,
trying to relocate
the map. No, she definitely loses some time. We can see Sara Hagström picking up some seconds.
Yeah, it was a minute before. Let's see when they exit control 17. Yeah, I think there was a kind of hesitation there, leaving control 17. Yes, we can also see that we lost Venla Harju there, so our GPS is not trustworthy.
Here's the leading chair. Venla Harju haven't gotten up there yet. Hanover still sitting there, but as we know, Venla Harju is in the lead here at the finish. We get a small look at the men's competition, not as far as with the women's, but we saw Sweden's Henrik Johansson sitting there, current leader in the men's competition, but we will get back to that and the favorites there when we have finished the women's competition. So all focus on the women here for the next 15-20 minutes.
So I wonder why Johanna Öberg was sitting in the leader's chair there. Still, maybe it's just the most comfortable position to be in.
Yeah, we can see here Venla Harju in the lead, Sara Hagström second, and then Johanna Öberg, as we saw in the leaders chair, right now in third position. But if we look at who, I mean, it's difficult to say, of course, but it's Marika Teini and it's Tove Alexandersen, which seems to be the biggest questions now.
And Alexandersen was 2:20 behind at TV control 2. If we look at the finish now, we have Venla Harju 1:31 ahead of Sara Hagström, and then 2:51. So definitely the chance to go between Hagström and Öberg.
Lina Strand as well actually was ahead of Alexandersen at the second split. She's still out there. She can still make it into a medal with a fast finish.
She might get up to Hagström, but maybe we see here if Hagström is going. Yeah, you see there, Strand and Hagström. It's not a big gap between the two of them. And here again, we will see this. I don't know if she got stuck in the green there, or if she's just hesitating. But she lost definitely time. It's control 17. And the gap between Hagström and Strand, maybe 10-15 seconds. Slightly different route choices out here, but you also see that Hagström even gets very close to compared to Marika Teini there. Now Teini has to be careful to not lose this medal position. It's not only Hagström, it's also Strand, but in my opinion Strand is going a bit far to the south. See, Hagström tries to avoid this green part, very green part, very dense part.
But you seem to go well through it and through the march as well.
No problem at all. We can also, if you compare Harju to Hagström, she was able to win 26 seconds there compared to Hagström.
Is Simone Aversolt at 13th control.
But she is far behind. She lost a lot of time.
We saw her and saw her time loss here. We can see actually at control 12, 10 minutes behind, losing 8 minutes on that mistake we saw on the GPS tracking. So no medal for Simone Aversolt today. She'll have a chance again on Saturday, when the middle distance is on, but 10 minutes. Well, maybe, as you said, she didn't feel comfortable running in Estonian forest just after the World Cup, so she went back, or the World Champs, and so she went back after the World Games. And maybe to make a top performance, I mean, this is hard. Maybe it tells us that this terrain is really tricky.
I mean, it is. All the feedbacks from yesterday's qualification were that it was harder than expected for almost all of the runners, so definitely it was a hard one. But still, I mean, there are mistakes and mistakes, and you can do a mistake 1 or 2 minutes, but if you lose 8 minutes on a control, then I mean, you should have a concept that avoids you doing that big of a mistake. And you could see that she was going out again. Her concept was backing out from this area, going up to the path again, but still then she didn't find the control directly.
And Aversolt wasn't here in 2017 when there was the World Champs in Estonia, and the year after in Latvia, which has some similarities to this. So, I mean, some of the more experienced runners have been running championships races here 4 and 5 years ago. She hasn't. She had a senior debut in Norway in 19, which is something different, I think we can say. It's some drone footage here.
I think she was running the European Champs in Switzerland as well, 2018. But maybe only this. No, I think she was running the middle distance as well and getting even the bronze medal. Yeah. And here I think we are following. Could it be Marika Teini?
Looks as she's going into the last control area, I think.
Having to back off again, getting around this. Punching the last control. Hard to say who it is. Got a runner in the red jersey. Might be Lisa Risby and Sabina Hauswehr. We don't know. This could be Lina Strand here.
Looks like Lina Strand, yeah. Here she is. And running for perhaps a medal. We saw her being very close to Saa Hagström's time. Hagström is second at the finish right now. So we will see. No, she will not beat Saa Hagström. Maybe into third. Maybe she can catch Johanna Uber's time in third position over the bridge. And then she has probably 20 seconds to go. So new third best time for Lina Strand here. Pushing down Johanna Uber to fourth position. And we know Marika Teini is coming. We know Tuva Alexanderson is coming. But we will see how long this time will hold. Current bronze medal position right now for Lina Strand, 2 minutes and 37 seconds behind Venla Haju, the current leader. And 3 sweets in a row.
And soon we're waiting for Teini. This is Sabine Hauswirth. Started 3 minutes ahead of Lina Strand, and 3 minutes behind Lina Strand started Marika Teini.
But she's just 20 seconds behind or so Marika Teini, we can see from the tracking. So just a few minutes, or just a few seconds, we should see Marika Teini. But we'll stay with Sabine Hauswirth into the finish, I think.
So looks good for a top 10 position here for Sabine Hauswirth, second best of the Swiss runners.
And here is Marika Teini. We'll see how good her time is at the finish. Can she beat Venla Haju? No. Time is up for the first place for Marika Teini, but she will definitely take a new second spot. Definitely will be a medal, I think, today for Marika Teini. But the question is if it will be silver or bronze. We still have Tove Alexandersen out there, but new second best time for Marika Teini and 2 Finns in the 2 top positions here. Great day for Finland.
Yeah, great day for Finland so far. Good performance by Harju and Teini. So, well, it will be interesting for the relay in the women's class for the Finland team, because they, yeah, I mean, this is great performance by both Harju and Teini, and here we are with Caroline Olsson. But more interesting, next starter behind Teini was Tove Alexandersson, and I think this is the only one who can be a threat for, maybe not Harju, but Marika Teini.
And we saw, as we can see just now, they're 8 minutes behind Caroline Olsson. We saw her losing time several times, also with Simona Abersholt.
We're not very sure on this long leg if there is a risk that she ran through this forbidden area.
Yeah, so not clear, but definitely no top place for Caroline Olsson today. And she won't be there on Saturday either, after missing the qualification for the middle distance yesterday. And here is one of the medalists, Marika Teini, right now second behind Venla Haju. And behind her only Tove Alexandersson, Simona Abersholt and Caroline Olsson. But as we saw, Abersholt and Olsson have lost way too much time, so it's only Tove Alexandersson now, and she should be in there.
And there we have one. This is gonna be quite tight, actually.
Yeah, so Tove Alexandersson running to see if she can push away Venla Haju, Marika Teini into the finish. We can see she has really speed, great speed for Tove Alexandersson here towards the end. So let's take her to the bridge. She won't make Venla Haju. Venla Haju will be the European champion of long distance here in Estonia. That is magnificent, the biggest result of Venla Haju's career, but Tove Alexandersson will definitely make it into a silver spot. Second position for Tove Alexandersson today. What a finish. We saw her losing time out there several times, but she just bit her teeth together and ran like only Tove Alexandersson could do here, running herself. She made it almost to gold, almost to Venla Haju's time, but the time here, 17 seconds behind Venla Haju. So here we have, I think, the standings for today is gold for Venla Haju, Finland, silver for Tove Alexandersson, Sweden, and bronze for Marika Teini, Finland as well. 2 Finns on the podium today, and a silver medal for the biggest favorite, Tove Alexandersson.
And you could see how much that was needed to not make Alexandersson the European champion. I mean, we had this mistake in the very beginning, towards Control 2, I think it was, and then we had the big mistake on the way from 5 to 6. I have no idea what happened there when she followed the path in way too long. But I mean, if you can do mistakes like this and still are in the top 3, then it just proves how fast she's running on the rest of the course, and how what kind of fighting spirit she has to still go on and pushing after that big of mistake. So yeah, I mean, we have said it before, it's very impressive what she's doing, but sometimes I think she could invest a little bit more into like just double checking things and make sure that she's in the right direction, because if there's anyone who can invest a few seconds into a safe technique, then it's Tove Alexandersson. And she could still, if you take away the like 5 minutes mistake she has done, there's a lot of time to invest into safe orienteering on the rest of the course. So, but still, I mean, if you can win a medal with this amount of mistakes, then you have some speed in your legs.
Definitely. Definitely. Here's just a view of the arena. I think so we'll see some GPS analysis, and of course we have the men's competition where we have the final hour of that coming for you in just a few minutes. So stay tuned. As you can see, sunny, warm weather here in Estonia here in the beginning of August. Swedish flags and Swiss flags, but no medals for Switzerland today. We just saw Sabine Hauswirth making it into top 10, and Simona Aebersold, probably the biggest favorites, as you mentioned, Jonas, ahead of the race, lost way too much time on control 10. That was a tricky one on the green.
And let's take a look at the very decisive last part. We don't have Alexandersson in the picture here, but we have Vendla Harju, Marika Teini, Sara Hagström and Lina Strand. See that Strand is taking another approach to this control, maybe the part where she was losing those seconds compared to Hagström, because they were quite close at control 17. And interesting as well that it's TV control 2, only 2 kilometers before the finish. We actually had Marika Teini in the lead, over a minute ahead of Vendla Harju. And there we also had Tove Alexandersson 2 minutes and 20 seconds behind. So Tove, she was more than 2 minutes faster on the very last part of the course here.
We can see Sweden on place 4, 5 and 6. Hagström, Strand and Öberg, so just outside the medals for 3 top-class runners as well. And best Swiss runner today, Paula Groß. Great for her, maybe to make her mark here at the European Championships.
I mean, that's a good result for her, definitely. Elena Roos was not running. I mean, she would have been maybe, besides Simona Aebersold, the strongest runner in the field for representing Switzerland. But I mean, this 5th position for, or 7th position for Paula Groß, that's a good result, definitely.
And 3 more Finns into top 20. I think they'll have some champagne at the hotel tonight.
And maybe they will wait until Sunday, but they will definitely celebrate it.
Yeah, we still have men's competition as well. We saw Mika Kiermala win his heat at the middle distance qualification yesterday. So maybe it's not over with the Finnish medals today. The Sprint World Champion Megan Carter-Davis, 29, as we saw her early into the finish.
And here we have a recap with the GPS. We see this big mistake here in the very beginning by Tove Alexandersson. We also see that Teini and Harju, both of them going around there. Also Alexandersson here in the recap. And then we see that Alexandersson already here is around 1.5 minutes behind. But you also see that her speed is very good. So she was just picking second after second. This part at control 4, the first TV control, we had Harju in the lead of the competition. 28 seconds in front of Hagström and 56 seconds in front of Marika Teini. And then here they were splitting up, and I think this is one of the, maybe the part where Sara Hagström kind of lost the chance to fight for the gold medal when she went to this northern route choice, and she was losing a lot of time here in this greener and yellow areas, especially in this part here. She first get out of the track, then into this semi-open area and out again to this smaller track, and you can see it here. It's several minutes. She was actually 2 minutes behind at control 10, or at the TV control, at the second TV control. So one runner, her luck was that the others didn't go straight here, the rest of the course either. Alexandersson with the big mistake to control 6, and then Harju with a big mistake to control 10. Maybe 2.5 minutes there. And this, of course, opened up again for Hagström, getting her the possibility to get closer to Harju and Teini. And the same for Alexandersson. And now from here, still have Teini in the lead, doing a mistake here at control 15. That's just after the TV control. And from here you can see that Harju was quite much faster compared to Teini, losing a bit of time there, and then also again at control 17 hesitating a little bit, opening up the race again for Tove Alexandersson, who passed Teini on the way to control 18. So if you would summarize the race, almost no one got through without mistakes. Hagström doing quite a clear race, but with this wrong route choice to control 5 that cost her the medal, maybe even the gold medal today. And we are still waiting for the last runners to the finish. Still Simona Abersold and Caroline Olsson out there. So now we are gonna go out there to the European champion Vendla Harju to hear from her and her run today.
And Vendla, you're the European champions here, the long distance. You're the new champion. How do you feel?
I'm almost quite in shock. I couldn't believe it because it wasn't perfect race.
We saw you losing time out there at control 10 and maybe also other places. How was your race?
I like quite much this kind of orienteering when it's quite hard to go through at times, and then also some fast running. But I had two places where I had quite big problems, but I could save them as quick as possible.
And did you think about you were running for a gold medal, or did you think, oh, I've lost way too much time to be in consideration for the medals today?
Yeah, before race I knew I had a chance for medal, and then during a race maybe I thought that it could be top 6 or something if I push hard until the end, but this time it was better.
We saw, besides you, Marika Teini took the bronze medal. How do you think that you Finns were getting along with the terrain today?
Yeah, we are. I think we are very experienced runners, Marika and me, and we have been running many jumps and many times in this kind of terrains, also maybe in Finland. So we knew that we can do it.
And you seem to avoid the mistakes on the last controls, probably the last 5 or 6 controls, going faster than the others, actually maybe winning the gold there. How did you feel on the last controls?
Well, it was really tough, really hot day, and I was just trying to push and thought that as our coach Thierry said, that fight for every centimeter. So I just tried to go forward.
And with 2 medals for Finland in just 1 competition, do you think we have more to see from Finland at these European Championships?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this was the European champion, Vendla Harju, in the long distance. And I think she mentioned a few very interesting things, especially that she likes this kind of terrain. And I think that's a very important point. You have to really like, and you have to take the advantage and really like this fight, because it's not very enjoyable to be out there. You get stuck, you don't feel fast, but as her coach said, fight for every centimeter in this kind of terrain, and this is very crucial. And I think also that she thought she is fighting for a top 6, and maybe in her head is kind of okay with that. Leads also to that she keeps on fighting, she keeps on pushing, she's running for every centimeter, and in the end, maybe that makes the difference. She likes it, she tries to avoid the very big mistakes when she gets into trouble, and she's an experienced runner, and all of those things she mentioned and are very important for this kind of challenge we have seen today. And well, after all those years, I think that's a very well-deserved gold medal to Finland and Vendla Harju. And of course, I mean, Erling tried to fish for that information, but it will be very interesting with Team Finland on Sunday for the relay with Vendla Harju and Marika Teini both in the top 3. And see here also the last starter, Caroline Olsson, on the way to the 17th control. I've seen her doing a lot of mistakes out there, and also here she's struggling at control 17. And when you were doing mistakes in such a race, it is warm, it is bushy, you kind of get the feeling that you're not fighting for the top position. I think there's a risk that you end up with mistakes like this at control 17. It's just the concentration is not as high as it was before, and it's hard to focus, and maybe also hard to motivate yourself to keep on going strong, as we heard from the European champion Vendla Harju. Here we are with the final results of today's race. Vendla Harju, the European champion in 1:29.52. Quite a tough long distance here, time-wise, but also regarding temperatures. Second place, Tove Alexandersson. Maybe not that satisfied with that second place after all the mistakes we have seen. Marika Teini in third, bronze medalist, 52 seconds behind, so all 3 of them within 1 minute. And then the 3 Swedish runners, Sara Högström, Lina Strand, Johanna Öberg. Maybe Sara Högström with the run, the most technically good, the best race of the top 6, maybe, only with this route choice where she lost some time.
And we see the runners ready for the flower ceremony. And she was tired.
Yeah.
Vendla Harju.
Tired and happy and shocked.
Representing Finland, Marika Teini.
Maybe, I mean, she was the European champion 4 years ago in Switzerland in middle distance. Now she won a bronze medal, Tove Alexandersson. Maybe the least satisfied person on this podium here.
Yeah, we've seen bigger smiles for her.
But, I mean, regarding the mistakes she did, she has to be very satisfied with this second place.
And here's a happy winner today,
Yeah.
Vendla Harju. That smile is big, is huge. And all the way on the top of the podium, yeah. A bit touched, I think. She looks. Vendla Harju.
Congratulations to the top 3 place winners, Finland and Sweden. Applauses once again. Gratulerer! Onnea! All together on the highest podium place.
And here they are together.
So if we would summarize the race, I mean, it's result-wise, I would say it was quite surprising. We don't have Tove Alexandersson as a winner. We have 2 Finnish runners on the podium, but the way this race developed was maybe not that unexpected. It's a tough one. It's technically difficult with this unclear terrain, a lot of vegetation based orienteering, which makes it hard to avoid mistakes, and the one with least amount of mistakes got the European champion in this women's race here. And I think with that we can move on to the men's race, focus on that one.
We will. We just see like the Venla Higher smiling here, and some Finnish flags, and then we will move on to the men's race in just a few seconds. The men have been running for as long time as the women. Started out just about 10 o'clock, the first runners there. 136 men on the start list. Some of them did not start, as we will probably see in a few moments. But the men's competition today, 17.3 kilometers. And yeah, we saw the women had an expected winning time of 73 minutes. They ran for 1 hour and a half.
Yeah.
Now the men have an estimated winning time, as we can see here, of 96 minutes. And but well, I think we will be closer, you think, to the estimated
I think we'll be
time.
closer, but I did some research, and we had 5 years ago when the World Championships were in Estonia, in quite similar terrain, we had almost exactly the same distance for the course, and the winning time there by Olav Lundenes was 1:45.25. So maybe that we will see also this race here a bit slower than expected. The course quite similar to the women's course here in the beginning. A very short first control, the one that Alexandersson is missing, was doing a mistake at, and then we have a small loop here, control 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a very similar long leg. It's not exactly the same, but it is very similar, and I think it will be the same idea behind go through the water there at the southern route choice, and I think that will be a good decision. Then at control 9 here we have actually a splitting method. It's quite early into the race, but it will avoid situations, or they try to avoid situations that we had, for example, last year at the World Championships, when the world champion Kasper Fosser kind of had both other medalists behind him into the finish from, for a long time of the course. Then we have quite a long period. We have this green control 16-17, then a long period from 18 to 27 with this kind of orienteering we have seen in the women's race. And then a different finish, but quite similar when it comes to the technical challenge there. Go through the green part to control 29. It's more or less the last control of the course that could cause any problems. But it's quite a similar course. It will be the same difficulties in the men's race. I think we will see the same struggle, that the few controls in the green area, they are difficult. You have to be careful there. Otherwise, try to avoid to do some parallel mistakes, and you have to keep focus all the way. Once you kind of let it go, you can lose a lot of time, and once you start to lose time, it often ends up in a big mistake and not only a small one.
We can see some runners did not start today, and I think it's fair to say that some of the favorites are not starting today as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pity. We were talking about this before. The Swiss team struggling a lot with the illness. We have Matthias Kiburtz not starting, Daniel Hupman not starting. We have also, and that's another big pity from the Estonian team, which did a great qualification yesterday with both brothers Sild on the second position. They struggle with injuries, and they want to save the kind of what they have left in their bodies for Saturday, which is in a way understandable, because if you run good in the qualification in this kind of terrain and you get the chance to run at the very end, this is an advantage, and they I mean, their interpretation of the situation is that they have the biggest chance in the middle distance, so they skip the long distance. But for us, of course, and for the spectators here, it would have been very nice to see them on this long distance because they can handle this kind of terrain.
But I mean, the middle distance will probably be a bigger test to the terrain knowledge and the home soil. So
the advantage is bigger when it's as more technical it gets, and of course you have a lot of tasks coming within a small amount of time in the middle distance. So the advantage is definitely bigger, and they get the chance to run at the very end. So that's good for them.
And here's the look at the current standings. Henrik Johannesson of Sweden, as we saw, just some few seconds of footage of him in the leader's chair, and behind him, Eetu Savolainen and Luis Noguera from Spain in third place. But as we can see, quite a gap there, and we have plenty of runners to go who will definitely change these standings at the finish. But if Matthias Geburtz is not here and Daniel Hubmann is not here, who are the biggest favorites today, Jonas?
I mean, the big favorite, if you just would go after the books, then it's Kasper Fosser, of course. I mean, he's the world champion, and he's physically so strong that it will be hard for everyone else to keep up with speed. But he's the kind of full speed orienteer, so for him he is giving it all. He's going all in from the beginning, and I'm not sure if this is the kind of terrain where it is a very good thing to do. So I mean, we've seen him yesterday in the qualification. He had some struggles there, so there is a risk. There's always the risk that it will end up in a race, as we've seen from Tove Alexandersson, because I think they're quite similar in their style of orienteering. But of course, in the men's race, we have many different names who can perform very well. We have Joey Haddon, who can do good. We have Eskil Kinneberg in the picture. We have Martin Rikborn, Mika Kiermula. There are so many names. It's hard to even talk about big gold favorites here. It was very much more clear in the women's race.
And here is some footage of Eskil Kinneberg. Has been doing great so far, I think. We should say we saw GPS tracking before of him avoiding any bigger mistakes.
You can also see that he was already able to catch Jonas Ecker, who started 3 minutes in front of him. And you can see here now it's the long route waiting. So they take some time to analyze that route choice. And from the Finnish team, Elias Kukka. Obviously, the Finnish team well prepared for the challenge waiting. Now we compare them to Kinneberg and to Johannesson, who is the leader in the finish. You could see there what we've seen in the women's course when they were running all the way around on this path. Very similar here, time-wise. Kinneberg out of the control, a little bit faster than the others. Also staying up a bit higher in the slope there towards control 4. Small mistake there just before control 5. No bigger problems. And Elias Kukka on the way to control 6, or the first TV split. It's the same TV split as in the women's race, but they have a slightly longer loop there.
Got him on 3.
In the very beginning. This is Leland, yeah. The runner who was leading the whole group into this dead end in the sprint relay a month ago.
Yeah, definitely a very well debated situation at the World Champs, the sprint relay and the second leg there where he lost time. together with several teams, but Norway ended up with a bronze medal, we should say, after a strong finish by Kasper Fossa and Trine Benjaminsen.
And Kuka here into third spot, 40 seconds behind. We've also seen a good start by the Swiss runner Pascal Buchs, only 41 seconds behind at that point. This is Simon Imark from Sweden. Now in the comparison, maybe a small mistake there, or just running too much around out from control 1, and you can see the gap here, already 1 minute. You can get the feeling, especially when we seen the comparison before between Skinneberg and Kuka and also Johannesson, that out from the control he was very fast, so he was very well prepared when he was approaching the controls, and then out from the controls he could really build up some speed.
Following Imark as well to first split, control 6 on the men's course. But as we saw, he has lost time.
Yeah, I mean,
already.
It was both the speed and then the accuracy out from control 1.
Just under 3 minutes, it seems. Maybe just over 3 minutes for Simon Imark. But we just saw that even 3 minutes at this point of the race can still get a medal with a strong finish.
Yeah, but you also have, like in the women's race, you had a few runners within 2 minutes, and then it was 8 runners within 2 minutes. And in the men's race, you already now have, you're already now up on the 11 runners or 10 runners, and I think it will be a bit tighter up there. So with 3 minutes of a disadvantage, I think it will be hard to win a medal in this race.
Just had, here's Rudolf Zane starting, but we just had some footage showing Olli Ojanaho from Finland taking over the leader's chair. Henrik Johannesson, Sweden, has been sitting there for quite a while, maybe an hour, I'd say. Hopefully in the shade, it seemed that he had up there. But now it's Olli Ojanaho's time, beating Henrik Johannesson with just 7 seconds. So new current leader is Olli Ojanaho of Finland.
And as much as I was talking about before, that I liked when I saw the kind of precision and the tactical execution of other runners who were running around, I get the opposite feeling here. I mean, it's very well performed, but you can see that Skinneberg's tactics is to go straight on. He's using his compass a lot. He's using the direction to navigate with, which is totally fine, especially in this first part. It will be interesting to see if he'll switch it a bit more when it gets greener, if he then will kind of take less risk and start to run a bit more around to avoid big mistakes. Because if you just are heading straight to the control and you just miss it by, or you don't see it and you miss it by 5 or 10 meters, then it's a very hard task to get back. And if you're a bit navigating around and try to get to the control reach to the control from one side, then it's a bit easier to know if you're too much to the left or to the right, and it's just a bit more safety you can build in.
Still with Rudolf Zernis. His best international result at the World Championships long distance is 17 in Norway 3 years ago, and here more than 3 minutes behind. He's one of the runners who benefited from following Kasper Fossa, as you mentioned, in the Czech Republic last year. Magne Daly of Norway, as we can see, bronze medal in Czechia.
It was a very tough situation there for Daniel Hoopman, who was the only one there. He just missed the podium. Oh, you see a small mistake here at the first control. Hoopman missed the top 3 1 year ago, just by a few seconds, and was doing all of the work alone. And Daly and Kiburt, who more or less joined Fossa for the whole course, got the medal. But of course, that's kind of the yeah, that's kind of the price you pay if you have. I think there was only 2 minutes of starting interval. But here we are with Magnadali. He struggled a bit yesterday in the qualification, only placed 19th there, and the top 20 make it to the final. So it was a tough, tight call there for him.
Had a silver medal, we should say, at the European Champs 6 years ago on the long distance.
Czech Republic.
So he has that, and of course part of the successful Norwegian relay team with 3 gold medals from the last half of the last decade here.
Also, he loses a lot of time here in the beginning. I think he's almost up on this 3 minutes line here as well. Not really, but I mean 2 minutes 45 seconds. Position 19 at that point. It's a lot of time. This one here is one of my favorites, but you get off the feeling before the championships that now this is the race he's gonna get it. And then yeah, exactly, that's exactly the thing. Then he just does a small mistake, or he does start the race with a mistake, and then he's not running. I mean, he's not executing the leg good here. He's almost doing every mistake you can do here in the beginning. Missing direction to the first control, then not running around the marshes, hesitating. That's not a good start, and he won't get the good feedback here. Not good. Can't build up self-confidence, which is very important in the beginning of a long distance. But if you look at the mistakes he was doing and of the time loss, I mean, it's still okay, but it's too much. It's too much. He could have had the chance here to be in the lead, I guess.
Coming off a win at Erling and a silver medal, we should say, at the Sprint World Championships in Denmark a month ago.
And he struggled a bit with his back. He often does this, has problem with his back. I think it was a bit worse now after World Championships. So he was quite happy with his race in the qualification yesterday.
He won his heat.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he's happy about it, about races when he wins them. But he was quite satisfied yesterday, so that's always a sign that he did a really good performance.
And still chasing that individual championship medal. Exactly. He has so many medals. He has gold medals from relay and sprint relay, but still missing individual gold medal at a VOC or European Championships.
And if you follow the performances he's doing in Sweden in some of the races, it's just unbelievable that he never managed to do it in championships. But it's exactly the thing. I think it's once he would get that medal, kind of the barrier would be broken, and then he would just get it easier, because then he wouldn't struggle with his pressure. But you just get the feeling that he's struggling with the pressure. And also Rakvere going to the west here.
But seems to keeping a better speed than Gustav Bergman.
Yeah, but he didn't get stuck I mean, he still can minimize the distance in the marshes. Maybe not the best way to go around, but he executed that route that he chose well.
And this is light green, actually, the area that Rakvere went through. It can look, I think, a bit yellow here on our screen anyway. So definitely it looks a bit different. Rakvere, who missed the qualification yesterday as well, maybe the biggest surprise at the men's qualification. He as he told the Swedish Orienteering Federation, he placed his compass over control 11, I think, and then just skipped it and went straight to control 12.
They were located in a line, and then when he put the compass on it, he kind of read, I think it was from control 10 straight to 12 or something like that. So it's a pity for him, because I mean, he's definitely a guy who could even be running for the medals in the middle distance. And you see it here, not the best route to control 2, but still not losing a lot of time. The speed seems to be good. And this could be a race that can suit him very well.
Here, just 3 seconds behind Schinneberg at this time. And here the world champion, long distance, Kasper Fosser. As we talked about, won by a clear margin in Czechia last year, and won the sprint in Vejle in Denmark a month ago. So he has a fresh gold medal, if you can say that, to start off these championships.
This is interesting now. Now we have Kasper Fosser in the race as well. But not... I get a really good feeling for Schinneberg here, at least in this first part. He's pushing very hard, he's very distinct in his orienteering, very straight, executing it well, except for this fifth control here. But of course, I mean, it's a long race, and then we will have this very long leg to control 7, where you get the chance to also run a bit on path and street. So as long as Kasper Fosser doesn't do any bigger mistakes, I think we should never count him out of the race here.
But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, he has been struggling with some injury, setting him back some month in the preseason training, and we saw him skip the knockout sprint in Denmark, also because to spare his legs. And I mean, this is a long distance where you have to be in the forest for more than 1 hour and a half. So, well, I think it's a good sign that he's here and that he's on the starting line and not just waiting for Saturday. I mean, he probably wouldn't start if he didn't see a chance for a medal. Let's take Eskil Schinneberg into the finish. We saw him running with great times out there at the splits, and now into a new clear best time. So Eskil Schinneberg really setting the pace for this long distance European Championships, beating Olli Ojanaho with nearly 5 minutes. Eskil Schinneberg, former middle distance world champion, we should say, some years ago. But it would really be exciting to see him up there among the medalists today. A great race, it seems, as of now.
I think he won the middle distance in 2018 in Latvia.
Latvia, yeah.
Seems to be quite a good performance if we look at the splits. He's also still in the lead at the TV control number 2. Lost a little bit of time there compared to other runners, but time's quite okay with 99 minutes.
Here's Emil Svensk, the last Swedish starter today. Third last in the competition.
And he's kind of, I mean, he can be really good in races, but he can also do like quite big mistakes. And if he gets through, he has the chance to win a medal. But he has to get a good start here and a good feedback. So far it looks good, he has a good pace. I mean, for example, if you take last year's World Championships race, he had a horrible start. But then if you just took the race from, I think it was after a third of the course, he was by far the fastest runner. He would even have beaten Kasper Fosser there, but he lost so much time there in the beginning that he was out of the fight for the medals already early in the race.
And here we see him on to control 6.
And this looks really good. Good start here.
That's a clear best lead, clear lead for Emil Svensk.
I mean, physically, I have no doubt that he can perform well in this kind of terrain. It will, for me, I'm curious about how he will kind of tactically run in the more greener, like in the greener areas at around control 7, 8. So here the execution, you can see it here. That's the problem with Rakvere. He was in a good position, then running around this forbidden area and losing, about a minute or more. Svensk there, I think, missed control 9 a little bit. Still here, Rakvere and Svensk in the lead, splitting up to control 16. Rickborn, I think that I mean, it's clear here, he doesn't dare to go through the water. He thinks it's forbidden. He was running around at control 16. He was running over the little bridge here at control 16. You can see the other runners, they're not doing that. And you see the difference here on the GPS, on the map. And I mean, the rules are clear, we're talking about it, but still I think you could have avoided that situation by being more clear in the course setting with this forbidden area, and maybe be more clear at the team leaders meeting, even if they would claim that they were quite clear when they just forwarded the problem to the...
read the rules, a common,
exactly.
common answer at the team officials meeting. Here's Fabian Abersold, who got into this long distance instead of Daniel Hupman. As you said, he's got his starting place as the second last starter, but as we also saw, some way down the ranks already.
You could say that he got Abersold, he got a very nice starting position. If you think that he was the first reserve runner for Switzerland and he can start as the second last runner now in the field, maybe he would have been more satisfied with like a fifth last. But I mean, it's usually when you get in just before the race, you get a bad starting, but the starting position at the very beginning. Here today, they got really good starting positions. And Kirmula, we could see the first control was the problem here. Did quite a big mistake there. But see if he can keep the time loss within, let's say, one or 1.5 minutes. Here, 102, that's not too bad regarding the mistake he did at the first control.
Kimula was the last starter at the men's field today after winning his heat as well. So here's a look at the standings at the first split. As we saw, Emil Svensk going with great pace out there, half a minute ahead of Eskil Schinneberg, and 5 Swedes in top 10.
You can see the Scandinavian
and
runners here dominating the fields. This is Jonas Ecker. I think he was running together with Eskil Schinneberg, so he lost contact there on the way somewhere on the course. So he struggled a lot with injuries the last months. Checking the results board.
Oh no, he just missed. Got a stiver with the second. Yeah, he saw that it was close.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a good sign. Then you can really feel that he didn't have a good race when he actually would be able to push a little bit more in the run-in, but he's not doing it just because it's more convenient.
Yeah. But Jonas Ecker into 7th, as we saw.
So this is standings at the finish right now. Eskil Schinneberg in the lead with a very good start, as we have seen. Olli Ojanau in second. Also already here, we have to finish runners high up the result list.
But huge gaps, as we can see here. Nearly 5 minutes from 1 to 2, and then again 3 minutes from 5th to 6th spot.
Look here, I think this is a mistake here towards control 8 or 9. Yes, 9 it is by Emil Svensk. He had quite a clear lead there, but then lost about half a minute. Also a small mistake by Martin Rekborn, maybe. And then, but we know that Rekborn, I mean, Rekborn would have has done a great run so far, but he just, if you count down the time loss he has avoiding the water, then he would definitely be fighting for the lead here, because he will lose some time here as well, going to the south and taking the bridge over the river.
Yes, Lucas Leland.
And look at the time lost there at control 2, control 23, 18 minutes and 17 seconds behind. It would be interesting to see where he lost the time.
And that's 33rd for Leland at control 25. Just as with the women, there's around 3 kilometers to go from here to the finish.
So we are back with the leading group, and you see here Rakvere going to the south and then going into this. I mean, if you go there, it's not the same control as in the women's race. Then you have to fight all the way through this marsh, and this costs time. See that Svensk is doing a great job here in the lead so far. You can also see that the green, the yellow parts, they are actually green here, so it's a bit misleading with the colors, but mistake there by Emil Svensk. Quite a good run as well for Elias Kuka.
Another great finish run. Half a minute behind Schinneberg. Kuka with approximately 10 runners behind him.
And you can really see the difference here if you compare his finish with the one from Jonas. He knows that he did quite a good race. He's seems to be quite satisfied, or at least fighting for the position he thinks will be realistic, or like had as a goal beforehand. So quite some difference here in the speed on the very last meters. Here goes Cernis to the second TV control. She's too far behind.
Yeah. Passes the time of Victor Svensk, Emil's brother. But still the best Baltic runner, I think, as of now in the standings, if that counts for Rudolf.
Didn't really get out on the track, very expected, and took a few steps just to get sure where he's leaving. And then you can see here you also get the track from the earlier runners towards this TV control. But almost 10 minutes behind the leader, Eskil Schinneberg. So this is Leland, and yeah, that might be the reason why we have seen that big time gap before. Missed control 9. Maybe he's realizing it soon.
We saw him losing. He was 18 minutes behind. Maybe he didn't even realize it.
But maybe he realizes it when he gets to control 9 and has to take an extra loop. I hope not, but I mean, otherwise he wouldn't lose 18 minutes. Yeah, that's a tough one if you get there. Yeah, now he's taking an extra loop.
Same controls, yeah.
Yeah,
that's a tough one when you still have
and I mean
8 or 10 kilometers to go.
I mean, the course is, it's a long course and it's really warm out there, and then you have to do this extra loop of about, like, let's say 1.5–2 kilometers.
But at least he knows the loop now, the rest of the loop. He's just been there.
Do you think that's his mindset when he gets there? Let's make some best times.
Yeah, some best times. Yeah. And here we can see Mount Delhi at, second TV split, also losing time. Not as much as Leland, but
still far off pace. I mean, I think Leland would have been closer without the mistake, without the fact that he did an extra loop on this splitting method. So definitely there must have been some problems for Daly as well.
Yeah. And we see them looking around in the terrain, as we saw some of the women as well. I mean, they're not like 100% certain where to go. But he found it to 10th And I think soon we'll see some other runners there. Rekborn and Bergman, let's see. Martin Rekborn, but just after him is Gustav Bergman, but Rekborn started out 6 minutes after Gustav Bergman, so definitely Rekborn with the best time here.
I mean, that's a tough one for Gustav again at the championship, opening the race with that much of struggle, and we see that's Swedish train here. There's also Simon Imark.
But Bergman will be 6 minutes behind.
And Rekborn, if you take in count that he only the time loss on the long leg when he was running around the forbidden area would definitely put him into the leading position here compared to Eskil Skinneberg. Let's compare them also with Elias Kuka running into the marsh, going down too early there, having to fight all the way through this area. I mean, the marshes, they are not too wet. It's more the vegetation that's a problem to stun it, because it's high grass. It really slows you down. So it's not that it's a tough one because it's so wet, but it's the vegetation on it that makes it so difficult or so slow.
But maybe he found a track. I mean, the women have been running more or less the same, and we've had more than 100 men. I mean, there must be giant tracks out there.
Yeah, but still, I mean, he should be good enough to leave the street there in the right position to not that doesn't make him run in this marsh for about 100 meters.
Yes, Max Peter Bämer, Sweden, but he will be, as we saw, more than 12 minutes behind. Part of the world champions, the sprint relay, a month ago in Denmark. See him into 16th position here. If he has something left for us in the sprint, oh, he's taking it easy.
Again, you can see the difference between the runners who are satisfied with their run and the ones not.
Yeah, not much. No hint of a smile there for Max Peter Bämer. 16. As of now,
leader Norwegian Skinneberg. Kuka second, Monaco third.
so Skinneberg's time still holds up here at the finish, and maybe it will hold up all the way. Biggest contenders right now seem to be Emil Svensk and Martin Rekborn.
I mean, if you look at the split times, he's on the second position at the first TV split. Skinneberg is in the lead at the second TV split, but as you mentioned before, we're still waiting for Kasper Fosser, we're waiting for Emil Svensk. But in the finish, he's also still in the lead. So, yeah, I mean, this will be a very good result for Eskil Skinneberg, that's for sure. See him here compared to Kuka, Elias Kuka. Looking for this yellow bits there. This part's the yellow bits on the map are actually green bits.
And the green is really green.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Skinneberg goes through, and as we saw with the Finnish women, that seems to be a great route choice.
Yeah, maybe not the best option there. If it will be a fight for seconds at control 30, maybe that he didn't pick the right option there. And here we are with some GPS again. See now that Kuka is a good position. We are not having Emil Svensk in the picture here, the leader at the earlier controls. We compare the others, small mistake by Kasper Fosser. And then here we see that he's leaving, in my opinion, he's leaving the street too early there. So Kasper Fosser is kind of on the borderline if it's too early or not. Like the way Skinneberg and Rekborn are approaching this one.
Kasper Fosser, the fifth last runner to start, so approaching the finish.
And we saw that Kuka had a great position at control 23. But with this smaller mistake here at control 24, I hope he won't regret that in the very end. Or he will definitely, but I hope he won't be like make a very big difference on the results.
Right now Kuka 35 seconds behind. Shinneberg at the finish in second position.
And this is Kasper Fosser on the way now to the second TV control.
That seems good, but we have, we both have Kasper Fosser, and after him,
I think he's more than a minute behind here. See it 109 at control 23. And the control 23, that was the one before this marsh. So the one we've seen him punching was control 24.
Yeah. But he's in the contention for a medal.
Yeah.
I think we could say that.
So far, we're still waiting for Svensk as well. Just see the gap here between Kuka and Johannesson is very big. More than, it's around 3.5 minutes.
But I just saw him at the World Games taking more than half a minute on Matthias Kiburtz on the last loop, which was only 3 or 4 controls, and he told us that he was just like pushing with everything he had. Oh, a fall there for Fosser, and now he seems to be losing time.
That he is doing small mistakes every now and then here. I don't think it's the speed is the problem. He was doing a small mistake, control 23, I think it was. It's not a big time loss here, but still. He needs a lot of energy just to regain those 4 or 5 seconds he lost here. And if you do it at every second control, it costs a lot of energy.
And 40 seconds behind Kuka and the bronze medal position here. But as we talked about, Emil Svensk is coming, and it's always Martin Rekborn.
Let's take another.
Been there, but yeah, Emil Svensk is coming.
Let's take another look here at this long route. You can see that all of them are going to the south. Southern option, but here, look at this now. Rekborn is going around. He was kind of in the group there before. The other ones running around the forbidden area, but not through. And you can see the time loss for Rekborn was about 1.5 minutes.
But it seems that there's some runners passing the water, just crossing it directly, and they gain. But it seems that if Shinneberg was like running in the water, just north for some, and that didn't seem to give him that much of an advantage.
I think you can see it on the other side of the water. You can see the small track, and I think this one is quite fast by now, because we also had the women's race going on exactly the same part, so it was the same challenge there. Shinneberg really using these yellow parts here. Then rounding this other semi-open area. It looks really good what Shinneberg is performing here today when it comes to the technical execution. And I am very impressed by Rekborn. Twice he lost time due to this running around thing when it comes to water, and still he's up there quite close to Shinneberg and within the fight for the medals.
Yeah, and as we saw earlier together, maybe still with Simon Imak and Gustav Bergman. We can't see them on the tracking, but definitely that could help. 3 Swedes together on the last couple control.
Yeah, and it's not only 3 Swedes, it's 3 very good runners. So it's, Gustav would have been one of the big favorites, and Imak is a very good runner as well. So it's both. It's the feedback that you're doing a good job out there, but it's also the help you get, because 6 eyes see more than
here you need the eyes. You need the eyes to see through the green stuff.
But I think soon we will have Emil Svensk as well to the second TV control.
And we can see Rekborn here going more directly through this area which is also greener than it maybe occurs on the GPS tracking.
And we are live with Rakvere, so we don't know how it will end up for him.
If it's the good way to
Yeah,
go.
exactly. But it looks quite good. I mean, it looks very straight, and also Shinneberg, you have to pass this area. Of course, you have this pattern, this green pattern there in the area where Rakvere is, and you can also see that Shinneberg, he is heading towards this vegetation border, which often is kind of connected with a small track, because often these borders, they show up because of tractors who have been working there. So it's often you have a small track there, and you can see that he really is looking for this one. But let's wait for Emil Svensk here at control 24. So that's the control before TV split.
Third to last starter, Emil Svensk.
But my feeling is that he's losing time a bit. Only 1 second ahead. And you can also see that the cameraman is hiding. So I think he is somewhere here, but not finding the control.
And
so my feeling is that he's doing a mistake at exactly that control. Yes, indeed.
just what we talked
And
about, you can be so close to the control and still miss it.
And that's what I meant. I mean, if you're heading towards the control in a straight line, and you kind of miss the features before, and you just know that you have to hit the control in that direction. But if you miss it, it's so hard to relocate. And now you can see that he thought that he would be more to the west in this other depression there, going more to the east from there, but now heading down to the marsh. And well, this could definitely cost him the medal. And without this mistake, he would have had a great chance to even win this race.
And now he's more than a minute behind Shinneberg.
But now he got to a position where he should be able to relocate, because it's the place where the marsh is going around the corner, so it makes a 90 degrees kind of edge there, so he should be able to relocate at that position. And here he is.
Here he is.
But he lost definitely around 2 minutes here.
Yeah.
It's already now behind, and he has to go all the way to the next control.
So that was probably the medal.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have all of the others into the finish yet, but it can be. It looks very likely that he lost a medal or even the gold medal here.
Yeah, we saw all the green split times. He has been ahead all the way through the course. And this is just, he's 14 kilometers into the course now. He just has 3 kilometers and 5 controls to go from here. 6 controls.
But he could also see that he already before this mistake must have done a small thing, because he was only 1 second ahead at control 23. And I think, I mean, if you start, maybe it can be an indication that he starts to be tired. It can lead to that he start to doubt about if you really still are able to execute all of the controls well. You see it there. It's from between control 8 and 23. That's a long period where he lost those 42 seconds. But then 1.5 minutes time loss at control 24.
Just less of a minute behind Elias Kuka.
Yeah. And there was a small mistake at control 19 already. But the big time loss later at control 23. There's also small mistake by Rakvere, getting a bit too much to the north. Control 20. Nice view.
Be the 3 Swedish runners together, maybe.
Counted to very.
No, yeah, Martin
1,
Rakvere
2,
together
3,
with
4, 5. Is it 5 runners? You can see there one.
Could be we saw him together with Christoph Bergman and Simon Imak earlier.
I think there are 4 runners there.
Martin Rakvere into the last couple of controls. We'll have probably a decision. He seems to be the only one who can threaten Eskil Shinneberg to the gold medal right now. We have Kasper Foss out there, we have Emil Svensk, but they were more than a minute behind at the last TV splits.
So now we are on the way to, I think, control 30.
Rekborn ahead of Cernis.
And
Magne Daly as well.
yeah, Gustav Bergman. So Mark is not in the group anymore. It will be quite... Nah, that will be good enough.
Yeah, that seems to be... What a great race by Martin Rekborn. What a race he is.
Yeah, I mean, the only time loss we have seen really was this route choices when he was running around, or the only bigger time losses. And I mean, I can't really blame him for that one. It's not, in my opinion, you could have done it more clear on the map. So very good run and very good performance by Martin Rekborn.
But let's see his finish. I mean, this could be the new European champion of the long distance, Martin Rekborn of Sweden. What a race. What a race for Martin Rekborn. Could be the biggest race of his career so far. Aiming for the gold. And we can see Magne Daly and Gustav Bergman entering the finish as well. But Martin Rekborn into the finish, pushes Eskil Schinneberg into silver position and Elias Kuka into bronze position as of now. Still, I think, 2 contenders we have for the medals right now. Kasper Fosser and Emil Svensk.
Yeah, and there are, but they were 1 minute and 10 seconds and 1 minute and 25 seconds behind. So to run over a minute faster compared to Martin Rekborn on this last part, it feels very unlikely to me.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is the new European champion of the long distance, Martin Rekborn. We haven't seen, I mean, beside the time losses and just a few small zigzags into the controls, but no like major mistakes as we saw with many of the other runners. So Martin Rekborn heading for the leader's chair at the podium and probably heading for the highest position. And a gold medal for him today, it seems. Let's take the runners into the finish before we conclude on anything. Here we see it. Martin Rekborn, 31 seconds ahead of Schinneberg, and half a minute down to Elias Kuka. And then still a gap of more than 4 minutes to Olli Ojana.
Look at the Scandinavian dominance here.
Yeah, normally we see some Swiss runners, but I mean, Matthias de Boert and Daniel Hupman are not here, and the terrain is not their home soil. We can say that.
No, but I mean, it's the strongest 2 runners out for this competition for the Swiss team, and I mean, then it's very hard to compete against the others here. Jonas Ecker, best Swiss, 9 minutes and 15 seconds behind, and you could see that he was not even satisfied with his run there. Kind of giving away the 10th position on the last meters. But very, very impressive by Martin Rekborn with his run here. We've said it before, 1.5 minute time loss on the long route choice. Then another few seconds to control 16. And now we're have a kind of a replay here. Emil Svensk going down there towards the river, then missing the control. There at control 23, he had a mistake at control 19 as well. So just could feel that he starts to get a bit tired, maybe not able to execute the legs as accurate as before. Kuka kind of giving away his chance here towards control 24, the same as Emil Svensk. For me, it's very unexpected that this control 24 is one of the most decisive ones in this competition.
It is rather, I mean, open forest.
Yeah.
And there should be lots of tracks out there.
But it's also, it's just after a period where he had the chance to run on the street, and maybe it's just the runners kind of shut down their
like brain.
But you take the chance when you get them to rest a little bit, to let the focus go, but then you have to refocus after that to be ready for the challenge. And definitely Svensk and Kuka, they struggled with this.
And here again up at the drone, waiting for Simon Imak, but he has lost lots of time on the last couple of controls. He was together with Bergman and Rekborn just 10 minutes ago, and we can see here, 20 minutes and just the last.
But you can see once he lost time, and he noticed that the other runner, that they kind of caught him, and once you have to let that group go as well, on a long distance with these temperatures, it's very hard to keep on going and to be fast after that. Even if you kind of try to refocus and try to restart at every control, it's just, it's not the same, and you're not performing as well after, yeah, after you kind of hit the wall mentally and maybe physically as well.
And maybe you already started to think ahead of Saturday's middle distance if you're running that.
You can see it's just jogging here.
Yeah. Yeah, no rush for Simon Imak.
So we are waiting for
Kasper Fosser.
Kasper Fosser. Emil Svensk is still out there. But the gap between Fosser and Svensk is 6 minutes due to the fact that Matthias Kuburt's didn't start and they were not able to replace Kuburt's starting position because it's kind of a personal starting spot he got there.
Kasper Fosser right now entering control 30, the second to last control. So if there's still battery on the drone we saw before, we should have some footage from above. And Mika Kimola, the last starter.
You can see he lost time there at control 16, 17. Then another quite big time loss at control 24 later on. He was choosing to go to the bridge, the same as Martin Rekman to control 16. So, well, quite many time losses here, but still with a good performance if you take the result. I mean, he will still end up in about, yeah, maybe around top 10, maybe just outside. But if you look at the time losses here, he would have been able to handle this terrain with a bit more focus or a bit more precision.
This Fosser, we know still a possibility for him to get a medal with a fast finish, but he has to take, no, I don't think he'll make it.
1:36 behind at control 30. And the medal is 1:06 behind, so I don't think he will be so much faster here.
Chasing the bronze, which is Elias Kukas right now. But that's the one he can reach for, I think. Eskil Schenneberg and Martin Rekborg's time is a no-go for Kasper Fosser. Let's see here. No, he won't be able to catch up with it. Kukas' time, it will be a 4th place for Kasper Fosser. A sprint, we saw him making some losing time as well out there on the course, and that's just too much today. Kasper Fosser into 4th spot. The reigning world champion of the long distance will be number 4 or 5, as we will see in just a few minutes here at the European Champions in Estonia. 1:38 behind Martin Rekborg.
I can see it's really, I think it's very hard for him to analyze this run just after the finish. You never get a good feeling. You don't know if it's the speed, you don't know if it's the precision, it's how many mistakes did the others do. I think when you get to the finish here, you could also feel that on the last control. I think he is a bit surprised over the result when he gets to the finish line, because it didn't seem that he really, when you just would see him in the picture, you wouldn't think that he was fighting for a top 5 position here. But that's it's so hard in this kind of terrain to really get a feeling over over your position in the race. And you can see here he gets a little bit stuck in the green area, losing time here as well towards control 29.
And we heard Ben Lahayu tell us after the women's race that it's hard to know where you're at. It's hard to know if you're running for a gold medal or just the top 6, as she told us. So, yeah.
Kirmula into 12th position at TV control 2. Following him here for a little bit. So now we have some time between Fosser and Svensk. As I mentioned before, it's a 6 minutes gap there. And then between, we haven't seen Fabian Abersold in the picture at any time, I think, so he might not be up there anymore between Svensk and Kirmula.
And here we're looking at standing set split 2, so we can see that Emil Svensk is the last contender for a medal, and he has to take a minute, nearly a minute on Elias Kuka.
But we also know that Rekborn was able to kind of pass Eskil Skinneberg here, so he had a good finish. So this, I don't think this is possible.
We're looking still here, seeing the gap. Gustav Bergman 6 minutes behind that split 2.
And you don't see it very often that the top 20 at the gap is 10 minutes. I mean, it's not even, I mean, it's not the same as in World Championships. Here you have many starting positions per nation, for every nation. So usually it's very hard in the European Championships to get the top 20 because you have so many runners. I think they have up to 8 runners if you don't have the world champion or the European champion.
The best nation, yeah.
So then it's, I mean, usually with 10 minutes of a gap compared to the winner, you're not within the top 20, but it just proves how tough of a race it was today. Both the conditions, maybe technically, and also, of course, the length.
Still haven't seen Emil Svensk. But as you said, Jonas, very doubtful if he can make it into the medals today.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see a real... We didn't really see a clear mistake in the end of any of the other runners, and this is a replay from the, well, top 4 in this race. I think it's, maybe we can say that already. You see that Rekborn going more to the south, the only one here. Not losing time here, but in the very beginning, Skinneberg was so strong. Had already here Fosse with kind of a time loss on this first controls. And in this part, I really liked the style Skinneberg was executing the controls, going very straight to the controls, except for this small mistake at control 5. Rekborn in second position, and this here, you can see now Rekborn is in the lead of the group when he is getting out to this passage here and then choosing to go all the way around. I think he's the only one. Losing quite a lot of time doing this, more than a minute, and still fighting his way back all the way to the leads. You can see the kind of difference in the speed, and he's already up there again at control 7. So very well executed from this part, from this forbidden area, all the way up to control 7. Small mistake there at control 13. And Kuka has to go the longer loop here on this second wing, this butterfly. For the first time now, Rekborn back, but then directly with his route choice to the south, losing time here as well. Again, he is about a minute behind. Now it's Kuka in the lead, but then we will see Kuka with a mistake here at control 18, but also later on. Rekborn maybe not with the best option here towards control 19, going a bit much to the east. And here you can see again Rekborn almost a minute behind at this point. And then quite unexpected, if you just look at the map, but one of the most decisive controls today, control 24. We don't have Emil Svensk in the picture here, but he lost also a lot of time there. Kuka kind of losing the top position at control 24. Schinderberg still in the lead at control 27. With about 50 seconds lead here. And then Rekborn on this leg here from control 28 to 29. He really makes the difference. Schinderberg gets stuck there in the green area, and this leads to the fact that Rekborn is up in the lead again, going straight there from control 30 to 31. And as it seems now, winning the race doing that. Here we have Emil Svensk on the last meters. He lost time in the very end again, but still getting into a 5th position, 3:19 behind. He had the chance, he was in the lead for almost 2/3 of the course until control 23. Then did a big mistake to control 24, and he must have done another mistake between control 25 and 30, and you can see how tired and probably also disappointed he is.
Rakvere, who took the gold medal in today's competition. Gold medal still goes to Sweden.
So now we are waiting for Kirmula to the finish. He was at the second TV control with position 12, but it will be still around 6 minutes. Because between Emil Svensk, it was Fabian Abersold, but he was never really in the fight for the top positions here. So 6 minutes behind Svensk started Mika Kirmula. This is the drone desperately looking for Mika Kirmula, but I think it has to stay up there for a while, for another five minutes maybe, in order to get Kirmula into the picture. But I mean, now it's really time to say new European champion in long distance from Sweden, Martin Rekborn, with a very, very good race all the way, especially think about the fact as well that he picked the wrong option there when he was going around to the right at the forbidden area, and then also picked the wrong route towards control 16. But immediately after those mistakes, he managed to kind of get back, and with very well executed legs to control 7 and 17-18 to get back into the lead. And this is Kirmula, and you can see he's still quite far off control 29 here towards the end. And you see at the time Kirmula is on the way to control 29. The European champion Martin Rekborn was already in the finish, and now we will hear a few words from him.
Yeah, Martin, congratulations on your victory. How is it to be European champion?
I don't think I have understood it yet. I'm so tired. Everything is just empty.
And how was your race?
Yeah, it was. I think I felt strong in the start. Then about halfway through, I got really tired, but still felt I had good speed. And then I could see Gustav somewhere ahead of me sometimes, and knew that I had picked 6 minutes on him. And then we caught Simon Imark, and in the last part also Dalis. I know this was a good race, and I was really tired, but I still managed to push the whole way. So yeah, I'm really happy with that.
And how much do you think it meant that you caught up with Gustav and Simon for your pace, for your speed and errors, which you didn't seem to make any of?
Yeah, when I caught them, I immediately got ahead of them, so I understood that I was stronger and had caught them mostly by running, I think. So yeah, it was good to get that feedback when you are really tired, and this is a good race. I still have the speed, so it's just to continue push.
And you seem to like the terrain, avoiding any big mistakes out there. We've seen lots of runners throwing away minutes out there, but you seem to avoid it. How did you experience your feeling for the terrain?
I saw yesterday that I was in control and was in good shape, so just continue with that today, and be really sure to pick all the controls today. So I checked the code and number every control.
Yeah, you missed out on the qualification. Did that mean anything for your race today? Did you feel eager to prove something today?
I saw I had good speed and had good technique in this terrain, so I know I tried not to dwell in it too much and tried to steer the anger towards something constructive today, because I know I had a good chance if I just kept it together.
And this is probably the biggest result of your career. How does that feel, being European champion?
I'm so tired now. No, I don't believe it yet.
Okay, thank you, Martin, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Really not the situation right now for him to talk about feeling. He still can't believe it and is far too tired. Very impressive that he, even though he felt very tired already halfway to the finish, he still managed to hold up the speed, and especially not only the speed but also the focus, and be able to keep this very strong run. And maybe the only one of the top runners we haven't seen doing any bigger mistakes here. As Erling mentioned in the interview, we have seen many runners who kind of threw away their chance for medals. Kasper Fosser, one of them, for example. Also, Emil Svensk at Control 24 and before. So he was really able to keep the stuff together and do a very well performance here. Also regarding the fact that he didn't perform, and he was into that, joking about it a little bit, that he missed out of the qualification yesterday. I think he didn't take it so relaxed yesterday, but to refocus today and really pick out the positive things, even though you missed the qualification, is a very impressive thing to do. And then to be back on the start line today and perform in the manner he did is very well-deserved gold medal for Martin Drickborn.
Still battery on the drone in the finish area?
It is still up there looking for Kirmula. I think we still we first get in Fabian Abersold. We've seen him in the picture before.
The manhunt for Mika Kirmula.
It is.
But he won't make it into the medals, but another medal for Finland as well.
It is another medal for Finland. Elias Kukan third. I mean, if you look at this result list, it's surprising that we only see Scandinavians in the top 10 here. I think the first one outside from the Scandinavian countries is Jonas will end up on 13th position, and otherwise you have Finland, Norway and Sweden up in the top positions. Here we have him, finally. So the drone can go back to the base.
Here is Mika Kirmula, last starter today.
Still, he's going to go for a top 10 here.
And he seems to be keeping up the pace as well here into the last control. We've seen some of the runners placed a little worse than him jog in, but Mika Kirmula is definitely, I think, still running for something. Anyways, a top 10. We can see
maybe for maybe for a 9th position will be very tight, but it is possible. Maybe.
Yeah, he was 9th a year ago in Czechia, the long distance. And we'll see if he'll catch up with Gustav Behrmann's time. It will be probably the same. Oh, just 1 second behind Behrmann into 10th place. Mika Kiemola. He can smile.
Yeah,
it's
but
impressive.
there's something he doesn't understand.
At the last World Championship, he was 9th, now 10th at the European Championship.
Maybe not really enjoying the ride over the course here.
And he can walk as well.
So this is the final results with the new European champion from Sweden, Martin Rekborn.
Eskil Kinneberg, silver medalist. And as we talked about, bronze medal for Elias Kukka of Finland. We saw the women's class, gold medal for Venla Harju, Finland, and silver medal for Tove Alexandersen, Sweden, and a bronze medal for Finland as well with Mari Katani. So 3 medals for Finland today. They have had a great start to these European champions. Finland as well at the World Championships in Denmark. The sprint relay was out in the very discussed green area and losing seconds there. So I think they will be happy today with going home with 3 medals from the first competition here in Estonia. That is some Finnish result. I think they have longed for that.
Another result to highlight from the top 15. From Spain on 15th position, Luis Nogueira. Quite a good result, 9:24 behind. I think he would have taken that if you had promised him beforehand. Maybe the biggest surprise in the competition is that we didn't see Kasper Fosser, or we don't see Kasper Fosser here in this picture among the top 3. A bit unsure about...
Yeah, but they have to change places, yeah. Elias Kukka should go to 3rd spot, yeah.
You see how experienced they are in going up there.
Yeah.
Kinneberg has been in the middle. It's quite easy if you win it.
Yeah. So with the Finnish flag, celebrating his bronze medal in just a few seconds, Elias Kukka. And nice to see Martin Rekborn, I think, with a smile. He was tired before when I talked to him, but now he has found the smile.
And maybe the biggest smile of all 3 of them is this guy here, Elias Kukka. It is a surprise that he wins this medal for sure, but very good performance here, and even had some smaller mistakes, I think, on the way, as almost all of the others as well.
And Kinneberg making his way into the podium as well. And that's a big smile for Martin Rekborn.
I mean, he has been proving before on World Cup races mainly that he can win and that he can perform very well on long distance. And I think you mentioned it very early out in the competition that this could be a competition that suits him well, because it's such a physical course, and he got the start right, even though he was taking another route to Control 2. It seemed that he got into the competition in a very good way, and when you saw him running after this forbidden area up to Control 7, just almost a minute faster than all the other ones on the second part of the long leg, that was very impressive. And yeah, there you could see that he will be a very dangerous guy fighting for the medals today.
Yeah, keeping up. So here we are signing off from today's long distance. We'll be back on Saturday at 13:30 local time with the middle distance finals.
Yeah, see you there.
Estonia for the second time European Championships in this beautiful multi country, Estonia. Thank you, Thisted, Aita, and Rakvere as well. But still, one free game. And then